You look good.
Yeah. Are you farther away from your camera? Is that what it is?
Probably.
That's how I look thinner, as I just get further away.
Yeah.
Dad, stop touching my asshole, please.
You look like I'm not going Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Brian doesn't have anything to say.
No,
Brian, you're gonna interrupt again. Shut up, Brian.
And be like, eye for an eye, bitch.
Honestly, you probably get away with it.
I'm so spiteful.
You are spiteful, yeah.
This guy wearing pants would have gotten stabbed in the gut immediately. Taking one picture of my iPhone. Yeah.
He's gonna hurt me.
Don't say anything, Poob. Like,
I wasn't gonna say anything.
And
fuck off the show.
Helen of Troy, hot or not?
Just lie to us.
Just lie to us.
Well, for once, I can actually not disappoint you.
Come on, man.
Well, actually, there was no Roman Empire. To this point, I've been misleading you actively, and you can all leave now because the joke's over.
Okay, I'm an alcoholic.
Hold on a second. Oh yeah, I'm gonna plug his book. This is the first time we're gonna be nice to a guest.
Hey,
All right. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so this is a doctor. He insists on being called doctor. Before the show, he told us that. He's like, I earned that shit, so don't you dare say anything.
It was like the Christian Bale fucking yelling at the.
Yeah, it was like a 30-minute thing, and he was like, "Start this shit. I'm running out of time." That's what I told him.
Oh man!
After yelling at us for an hour. No, this is Dr. Garrett Ryan, professional YouTuber now. He went down a little bit. He used to be like an academic or something like that. Work at a university.
Way down.
Yeah, author of Naked Statues, Fat Gladiators, and War Elephants. A book that I picked up. Yeah, that was a great title. Runs a YouTube channel we've talked about on the podcast before. He's does like ancient Rome, ancient Greek. You can correct me at any time if you want.
Roman stuff, some Greek stuff, pretty much just general ancient history.
Yeah, and what I thought was kind of cool is he kind of always just takes kind of an unbreachable subject that like a normal person, like a normal guy would look at and be like, that's nerd shit. And then he goes like, hey, you think anybody ever used those Roman aqueducts as water slides? And makes like a video about it. And I'm sitting there like, it's late at night and I'm kind of drunk and I'm looking at the YouTube going, that's a damn good question. I've been asking that for years. Hey man, this guy, he knows things. Why doesn't this guy have a TV show? So I picked up the book and awesome, dude. This thing's so awesome because it's like, what's that thing called? The appendix, like the ending section. I love how you wind that up too, because you're like, it's like a conversation between an idiot and like a regular person. And you're like, you prime the questions, which is funny, which is like, I feel like what a lecturer would do to like an unenthusiastic classroom. You're like, oh, so you're wondering how the empire fell. And the person's like, I guess so. Like, why not? And then you like proceed to answer it. But hold on, I do have some stuff here. I went on the Discord, right? Do you know what Discord is?
Yeah, I've used it occasionally. I'm not one for Toldinstone, but I've done it for different things.
You don't do much. You don't do much like gaming with your ancient academic enthusiasm.
Believe it or not, I tried a Rome Total War video once, and like 10,000 people absolutely loved it. Everyone else was like, "What the hell is Rome Total War?" That's my audience, apparently.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, I tried.
There's very little crossover.
No, sadly.
I can probably guarantee you will sell an extra 2 books.
Yeah, this audience is so fucking stupid.
There's probably 2 people in the audience that are like, I know how to read. I'm buying that.
The other one just wants to show it off.
Yeah. Yeah, Sam said if I buy this thing, I'll look smart or whatever.
Yeah.
He'll never open it.
Self-marketing, I'm good with that.
Yeah, but the that's actually a good point, Poob, that you brought up. The average person in the audience.
It's not. That was just a throwaway joke. You don't have to rag on them too hard.
It's bleak out there. It's bleak. So like when you answer stuff, like if we ask like a really heady question,
they're really slow.
Well, we're not. We're right there with them.
No. We'll get it.
No, I mean we'll get it.
Because we're educated. Poob went to college. Brian went to college. I watch Toldinstone on YouTube if you ever seen him. So we're pretty well versed guys. But just for the sake of the audience, reply as if we're like 5 years old.
Of course, yes.
and we'll pretend drool and go like, "Can you repeat that slower or something?" Just playing the role of the audience, you know.
Yeah, to tap in, I'm gonna drink like 10 beers too, and just get like really.
Oh yeah, by the way, this is like super relaxed. Like nobody will be fact checking you, so you can make up shit.
Yeah. Oh, we love spreading false information. Just
you can use the bathroom whenever you want. If you want to grab a beer, go for it.
Oh
this is not like a super professional thing. Can I please turn off this blue light? You guys bullied me into it.
You can't be that much better from your perspective.
No, it's like so bright. Hold on, I gotta find something. It was just like cutting me a weird way.
None of those are
green.
Good.
That's good. That's not bright. Oh. That's fine. Yeah. So I did have some questions from the Discord. I asked them. I said, "Do you guys have any questions about ancient Rome? Ancient Greece?" And I had to go through about 5 different chats before I found one person that would talk about that. It took a while to find someone.
We found our hero.
Yeah. But one of the questions that I had, and you know, there was some people on the Discord. Hold on, let me find it. Was this guy? Tell us about this guy. Was this guy actually cranking it right before?
Yes, masturbating guy.
Yeah, masturbating guy.
It is my sad duty to inform you that he probably wasn't choking the chicken. And
fuck off the show. Get off.
What happened was, so Pompeii was buried by what we call a pyroclastic surge, this kind of white hot cloud of volcanic gas, dust, and volcanic debris, coming at 500 miles an hour through the city. And when it catches a person, they more or less seize up. So their limbs go rigid. So rigor mortis, but in fast motion. And this guy, this poor dude, ended up with one arm, rigor mortis, right to his crotch. And that's why masturbating.
I got stuck masturbating. I swear. I slipped into it.
That sounds like the worst excuse when your spouse catches you.
Mom, I swear.
This giant cloud of volcanic gas.
It was rigor mortis.
Yeah.
God, I couldn't move it except for barely up and barely down.
I kept trying to move it repeatedly for like 20 minutes.
It was so hard.
So that guy, he was basically like the biggest legend and hero in my life, and you single-handedly just
But also, isn't it pretty like funny that guy would just be like, "Oh man," and he's just stuck with his arm like that.
It is kind of funny that everybody knows this guy.
And I mean, I wish. It'd be funny we found something near him that could help us identify him, but he's just
a box of tissues.
Him having his hand frozen near his crotch for thousands of years is like way more important than anything he did in real life. Like
it's a sad fact.
Yeah, it's a sad fact that this is what he's known for.
But
he wasn't even doing it.
He's known than most people, though.
I think of it like President Taft. Everyone else got stuck in the bathtub because he was so fat. Everyone forgets everything else he did for his whole presidency, but he got stuck in the bathtub, and that's it.
For that one moment, this guy's funny.
I think.
Yeah. Well, people say that like George Bush was like a horrible like war criminal, and the only thing I remember him for is getting a shoe thrown at him.
Exactly.
You remember that? That was funny.
Let's just pray that we get a moment that embarrassing in our lives that we're remembered,
forever.
Some way.
Exactly. You're immortalized somehow.
Yeah. This guy got rigor mortis sucking his own penis. Or something like this guy.
And now the world loves him.
And now he's a hero forever. We don't know his name.
Like that, I would do it just so I could gloat.
If you're gonna go.
The gust of wind blew me down. Yeah, it broke my back and killed me. Yeah.
So, like, was he like how long?
What do you think? Was he like? What do you think? Was he a good guy?
Did he fall?
You know,
how
this
long
guy,
was the
right?
process between like when he initially died to him being like? Were they just immediately like encased in ash? Did it come flooding in like an avalanche, or were they just like?
Well, it was sort of in layers. So there was the first eruption it was buried in ash first as falling debris, pumice, which didn't kill too many people. But this pyroclastic surge came through, and it killed everyone it touched pretty much instantly. It was so hot that you pretty much drowned from your own lungs dissolving. It's pretty grim stuff. But anyway, so they fall into this fine layer of ash that the cloud carries, and it encases them, kind of forming a crust around them. And they fill that crust when they discover these cavities left by the decaying body much later, the excavators, with plaster. And so they create these impressions like, our friend masturbating guy, which shows the body as it fell in that layer of fine ash. And then more stuff falls on top of it, more pumice, more volcanic debris. But it's that very fine ash that creates the impression. So you can kind of make these very detailed casts of people as they fell.
Oh, it's like when they find those. Have you ever seen them finding giant anthills?
Same deal, right?
And they're like, hey, let's show how incredible these anthills are by doing like this horrible napalm pouring of plaster down, and like they drown an entire civilization.
All these ants are jerking off when they got down there.
Little tiny wieners.
Thousands of Pompeii men in this anthill.
What were their stories?
Who was that ant?
Yeah.
What was going on in their head?
You will live on. You will live on.
I always thought that was funny. I saw one that was like a football field long. They were like, this is the largest anthill ever found. And I'm like, why'd you fucking why'd you pour like truck after truckload of plaster of Paris in this thing? Let it live. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but now we can see.
Yeah,
what it like. They should have just cut the earth in half or whatever, and then looked at it from the side.
Like
replace it with glass,
or like taking like a small child and poke them down in it, because it was a big. It was a big.
Was that big?
That big,
yeah.
It
It was big, yeah.
A skinny
he would have
intern.
fared all right. I think he would have been fine.
You could just put like a little camera on a creature and throw it in there. Like it doesn't have to be a person.
A trained badger.
Maybe like
Yeah.
Ant.
Some sort of burrowing.
Yeah, just a bigger ant, a bigger, stronger
A
ant.
larger ant.
I just realized like half of these questions are like super sexual.
It's from your Discord. What would you
My
expect?
Discord. I shouldn't have.
I would
There's
be
some guy that's just like, what? Tell me this. It's like
Oh,
a
yeah,
weird.
I can tell you all about that, actually.
What?
Is an
I
alien
didn't even
getting
have
his
to
dick
give you a
sucked?
primer.
Why is that? So yeah, this is they're called spintriae, and the theory is that they were brothel tokens.
Oh.
You would pay with one of these things to get in. We're not actually sure if that's true or not. It might just be they decided to put a little fellatio on the obverse of the coin for no good reason. But that was the old theory that these things were used as basically the Chuck E. Cheese token, but you pay to get into a brothel.
We should bring those back.
Wow.
It's highly specialized, but seemed to work for him.
And that's not normal size, though, right? That's like,
Okay.
It's got like an artistic.
It looks like Megamind's getting his dick sucked. It looks his head's weird.
What the guy was pointing out was
Where's
that
toe?
the person doing the giving is also a man.
Oh,
well, it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, how
to
do
be
you
honest. It's
tell?
so badly, it's so crude. I mean, that wouldn't be. There's this a famous vase in the British Museum which shows some very explicit gay sex. And apparently it was a very, very nice vase and made out of silver. So somebody had this like in their dining room, just like as a centerpiece, and there's just this,
awesome.
basically, orgy going on the vase. So it wasn't, at all taboo the way we would think of it.
What happened to us? We need to get back there.
yeah.
I'm not gonna
Be a
lie
bunch
though.
of prudes.
They had some wild shit back then, but I was looking at like the instruments, like the music of the time. This shit sucks so bad. It was like the worst.
It was
the worst music I have ever heard. There's some guy in Oxford
synthesizers.
that like recreated like what ancient Greek, and he has like this bagpipe thing. It's like two flutes, two recorders at the same time, like that kid that sticks them in his nose.
Yes.
And he has like a choir with him, and it just sounds like a bunch of people screaming while bagpipes are in the background. It's not a good.
Yeah, I don't know if we're just really
is.
bad at like recreating those things, or if it actually just sounded terrible.
It probably just sounded
terrible.
Yeah, because if you take like a Greek person and go like, "Hey, listen to this 3-6 Mafia song," they'll be like, "What? What the fuck is this?"
Well, yeah, it's like, what are your options, like that or no music? You're probably gonna be like, wow.
Oh, I'm fine.
Dude, I'll listen to the waves crashing on the soil all day before I listen to that bagpipe thing again. That was horrible. Maybe like as a way to just split a crowd if you're like bringing someone important through. You just do like a screech with it.
Just they blow it in people's ears.
You put one
The choir screams at people. Yeah,
blow out their fucking ears.
the king is coming.
Oh man, yeah. Let's see what else we got here. We got this guy specific. I'm sorry, this thing specifically. He was like, "It's a pedophile coin. Why would it's pedophilia on a coin?" I forgot that's what he said.
Well, so above the Greeks, people ask about that. They call it pederasty, which is relations between a man and a boy, and that was a thing in Greece and to a lesser extent Rome. And to us, it's kind of hard to wrap our heads around that ever being socially acceptable. But in Greece, it's sort of
some of us.
I don't know. You think of almost like a really messed up Big Brother sort of deal, where it's like a mentoring thing, where someone who's in their 20s usually will have an adolescent who's their companion. However mystically you treat that, and they kind of initiate them into the world of aristocratic life, but it's also a sexual thing,
like your podcast boss or something. Gets you like while you're gaming or something. It's like, hey, I'll show you the big lights. Yeah,
right, exactly. So yeah, sort of an institutionalized Harvey Weinstein sort of deal. But it's it went on for centuries.
More of like the Big Brother thing that you were saying. Describe me less as a Weinstein and more as like a Big Brother. You know what I'm saying? You describe it. You're like, he's like a rough Big Brother. That's what I like to picture myself.
Right, sure.
Make those accusations.
But yeah, it's one of these things. Even the Romans, were squeamish about it. That they didn't really understand why this was such a thing in Greek culture. And it was for only a very small portion. It was for the aristocrats. It was kind of a way of one thing they did to set themselves apart from the rest of the population. But honestly,
not much has changed.
Yeah, I was about to say.
That'll
you've done it all and you own islands and shit. The last frontier is fucking kids. That's the last thing that they always
people
do.
have no excuse now. Like, okay, they didn't have an excuse back then, but it's like at a point you ran out of shit. Like, you're like, wow, I sailed around, I did this, I did that. Like now, there's so much shit to do in the world. If I had $1 billion, I'd never get. I mean, I say this now, but I'd never get bored. Yeah. I'd be making like little movies. I'd be doing little stunts. I'd be, seeing shit. I'd never be like, I want to eat a person. I want to hunt and eat a man or something.
That would be above my if on my list of like things to do before I'm just dying of boredom. Eating somebody would be above having sex with a kid, I think.
Yeah, and hunting someone would probably be like right above. Like I watched all the movies I wanted to see.
Eating the person.
Hunting the person down is way higher because that doesn't mean I kill them and eat them afterwards.
I would do that even if I wasn't super rich and I got bored.
I'm waiting for my next opportunity.
I think if you give me $20 a beer, I'll do it.
If I just run out of stuff to do. But you don't have to have any money to do that, really.
You really honestly.
It's the oldest profession. Hunt.
Right. Well,
is any like good questions from the Discord?
I just really
it was fucking pedo coin and jerking off guy.
Okay, how about this one? This one's from me. So it's not sexual, but it is nerdy. We've been playing a lot of D&D recently. You ever play that?
Never really got into it. I mean, I think I would have gotten into it, but none of my friends did it. So
you know what? You're about to get in it because if you're a specialist, an expert on Roman culture, check this shit out. 2,000-year-old 20-sided die, crystal die from the Roman Empire. Does that get
those things are great.
Yeah, those creeps could roll, man.
Did they play a lot of D&D? Like, what else could you use this for? This is D&D, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, mostly, the sad truth is just gambling. Like all dice and knuckle bones. There's so many different kinds they used. I think that those 20-sided ones, though, are used for things like astrology. Like you cast a certain thing, a certain roll, and then it's called a number oracle. And you kind of, you read the numbers, and it's if you're going to die today or whatever. So some combination of
natural one.
Or like, I got this guy on to say awesome things, and he's just like, yeah, that's not actually a dude jacking off.
What do you think?
They didn't play D&D. They were just playing craps.
Just lie to us.
Just lie to us. Tell us what we want to hear.
Tell us it was cool.
Tell us the cool shit.
They invented Dungeons and Dragons, and it was awesome.
They had dragons.
Yeah. It's so cool. They made the player's handbook that we still have today. I heard.
Well, actually, so we have some magical papyri, they're called, from Egypt, which are just spells you can cast. Usually to make sure your arrival dies in pain, or something like that. And these things have some very D&D looking things where you summon X or Y demon, by following all these different steps. You have to go to like, an arena where there's blood-stained sand and use that with, 4 ingredients, and the demon shows up and he's summoned by X name or Y name. And so, reading through those spells can feel very much like a manual, for a D&D game. It's like, okay, if this happens, do this. If that happens, do this. And this goes on for pages sometimes. You wonder who actually did this stuff. They just told their clients they were doing it. These magicians.
You know what it was? It was the apothecary or whatever the person was, the curse maker. They were like, let's give them a long list of dangerous things and hope they die doing it before they come back.
Exactly.
Because the curse didn't work.
Pay me up front for good.
Yeah, pay me up front and then go get this egg off the rocky shores and coastline that's like jagged rock everywhere.
This curse will get whoever tries to make the curse happen die. Send your rifle on this errand. You have to win a gladiator fight, then you have to wrestle a crocodile.
Yep.
Salt
Punch the
water.
emperor in the face.
Yeah. Go fucking fart on the emperor. And then,
Go jack off in Pompeii. This is your final one.
oh god, it was a volcano curse. Oh my god. It's a like summons pyroclastic flow. Oh my god.
Roll 14. Roll 14.
Oh, shit. So have you actually been to Pompeii?
Oh yeah. 4 times.
Is it bleak, or is it actually like when you're walking it? Is it actually like what's the feeling when you're there? Some people like a part of their fun little vacation is they go like by one of those Holocaust museums and they're like, geez, that fucking put a crimp in this whole thing. Holy crap. Should have gone to Hard Rock Cafe or something.
Yeah, right. It really depends when you're there. So I've been there when there's nobody there. Like early in the morning when it was raining. That's kind of eerie, and not in a bad way necessarily. You feel like you almost feel the disaster still lingering. You walk by the casts, in their glass cases. You watch water running down those streets, and there is, kind of a powerful feeling. But if you're there after like 10 o'clock, most part of the year, it's just tourist central. It's the deck of a cruise ship, basically. Just tour groups everywhere. Everyone's shouting
everywhere. Food carts. Food carts going left and right. People everywhere.
So it's hard to be enchanted or horrified or anything at Pompeii after about 10 a.m. So you're just being swamped by the flood of humanity.
What about at like 2 a.m.? Here we go.
That'd probably be cool. Be like jumped by the guards before that happened. It'd be cool.
Oh yeah. Do they even have guards? Like, isn't Greece not doing so well financially? Like, I was when they were going like bankrupt, I was scared. Like, oh man, like who's gonna make sure the Parthenon keeps standing?
Yeah. Wait, was Zeus okay?
I mean, like a lot of these countries that they don't have like in Turkey especially, where I spent a lot of time. They just don't have anybody at these sites, and there's a lot of looting. Actually, I've come across it sometimes. You find like a grave, where they've plucked out the bones, they're scattered around, to get the burial goods, and, or they smash the sarcophagus to get at whatever's inside, and it's pretty depressing for any historian to see that. But even in Italy, like Pompeii, of course, is a very high-profile site. But people sneak in, like cut out frescoes, things like that. It's just too big to patrol.
You need to become an Indiana Jones type and stop these people, and you need to be out there beating their ass. Yeah, with a whip.
They try to loot it. You need to steal it and bring it back to the U.S.
Yeah, this belongs in a museum. Or in the ground still.
I was going to say, those movies didn't age well. Like, now all those countries are like, give us our shit back.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones, stop stealing
all belongs in Indiana.
Yeah.
I think there's one of them where they're in like South America, and like the tribe that built that temple is like there, like throwing spears at them. He's like stealing their shit and getting on a plane.
Oh yeah, with the golden idol.
Taking it to a better place.
Yeah.
Did not age super well. But hey, if you're like a '90s kid, that's probably like half of why I did into archaeology. To be totally honest, it's like that and Rome for the War for the other half.
That's badass.
Did you ever have to? This is like a tale that I've heard a million times, where people they go down the archaeology path thinking, I'm going to be evading Nazis and grabbing idols from tribes and stuff, and then they end up just like digging ditches for a couple years. And like,
it's the absolute worst. I didn't have the patience for it. That's why I became a historian instead, because archaeology, and it's good that they're meticulous, but it's 99% digging up potsherds and like cataloging them. So you dig up these bits of pottery, and literally there are tens of thousands of these things in most sites. I actually slid down a slope once, made entirely of broken pots by accident. But anyway, it didn't feel great. But anyway, they're everywhere, and all you do if you're a grunt, unless you're like the archaeologist running things, is like, oh hey, you found these 500 potsherds. That's fun. Let's take pictures of them and catalog them. And it's good to be meticulous. Of course, you learn things about the past. You're not just like grave robbing. But unless you're a patient person, it is tough.
You know what I did? That's kind of similar. I just did it like before we started this. I went to some website called like Nero Coins or something.
Oh yeah.
I bought like just like 5 Roman coins for like $20, and they're gonna be shipped to my house, and I'm gonna clean them up and then go, hey, I got like a Roman coin. So I'm basically an archaeologist, but like minus.
You're the next step. You're a step above archaeologist. Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah, the grunt.
I've seen this documentary of this guy finding like this like pre-link to like humanity, like way before Homo sapiens, right? And they like whole documentary is about him, and he's talking about like all the work he did and stuff. And it turned out his work was like he just got a guy that was really fit, and he goes like, yeah, go down in this cave and see if there's people down there, like these skulls. And the guy went down there and he's like, yeah, it took me like hours, and I got down there and I found some skulls. And then the guy's like, all right, send some college kids down there to pick up all them bones and bring them up to eat. And I'm like, this guy didn't do shit. He really didn't do anything.
He's the catalyst to get the
He didn't even go to the specific cave and say go down there. He went, hey, guy that does caving, go to every cave in the area and look for human remains. Yeah. I was like, that's not
but
really.
He told that guy to go. Right. He's not an Indiana Jones type, but he's something.
The air conditioned trailer, all right, we'll coordinate things from here. And that's every site. There's a guy like under a canopy. He was the actual archaeologist, and then there's like the 20 diggers who are sweating their asses off, and then like a few grad students, among the diggers. And they kind of report occasionally to the actual archaeologist who comes in for the big stuff. But it's probably you have to do it that way because there's so much to coordinate, and probably because it's just, if you don't have to, why would you? Hop into the hole and dig.
Yeah. Who's the paleontologist from Jurassic Park? Something Grant? That guy's badass. Yeah. That guy both sits under the canopy and gets his hands dirty. He's really
has a mind.
And then he becomes an Indiana Jones type when he needs to. So
right, yeah.
Is that the guy with the amber?
No, that's like the owner address. I'm talking about the main character.
The guy with the amber in his cane is a fucking
the guy that was like going those caves because that's all.
That guy was like he had ideas. He was beyond go down in the cave and find humans.
Like, what if we have dinosaurs?
I would have a cane with amber, and in the amber would be Pompeii man's cock, and I was like, one day we're gonna. One day we're gonna
bring him back.
What amber? Did you do this yourself?
Yeah, I break it off, cram it down in some fucking epoxy. I don't make it into a cane because I'm not derivative. I'll make it into like the stick shift on my car or something.
Stick shift,
ping pong paddle.
The handle,
yeah.
It's the end of my pool cue. Custom made.
When I figure out cloning or whatever, I'll make use of it. Until then, I'll just use it as a pool cue for like 30 years.
Guys, like last thing I remember, I was jerking off. Where am I?
That's all I needed him for.
I knew it.
After you clone him, he comes back to life. He says, "Oh my god, last thing I was doing was jacking off." Then you just shoot him.
Yeah.
You don't belong in this time.
This guy was getting off to Vesuvius. Like, imagine if he sees internet porn. We got to take it.
He wouldn't last long.
No, he wouldn't.
Monster.
Oh man. If I was visiting Pompeii and I saw that it erupted, I would quickly lay down next to that guy and start jacking off. There's no way. I would love to be the part 2. Like, what? Why is there a second one? It erupted again. There's a second one.
You're not panicking. You're not looting. It's not maybe noble, but it's something.
Yeah, it's something.
Something dignified. If I go down to worship that guy, that's we do a form a circle around him. Hero.
They carbon date it, and they're like, "What the hell? This is the first guy. The jacking off guy died like 1,000 years ago." The people worshiping are from way later.
This guy's doing the Fonz thumbs up. So what's going on? He's got a leather jacket on under there.
I mean, you do wonder, 2,000 years from now, whatever the cockroaches that have, evolved, took over the world or whatever, are doing archaeology. How do you interpret the 21st century? It's
I've buried
so much
some
harder.
crazy stuff in my yard. Yeah, this guy's got like 100 dog bones out there. What happened here?
Was he
This guy
their
was in
god?
the suburbs. It's his front yard.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. You know what's kind of cool though is like when you're like all this shit that we're doing now, like our grandkids might find it. They might find this episode and be like, "What the hell? That's my grandpa."
It's cool. Yeah, the internet stuff is super. Unless we have a blackout.
Yeah,
Let's
I never read it again.
The YouTube servers.
Yeah, right.
But no, that is cool. It's kind of scary too, though, because it's like,
it is.
do I want
said
my
a lot of bad
grandkids to,
stuff.
see like these streams I do and podcasts and stuff?
Yeah.
You should never know your grandparents as people.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
should just know them as Gampy and Gama or whatever.
Don't be like, fall asleep.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, less is more.
Yeah. They don't need to know the
I found
whole
like a
story.
weird picture of my grandma from like the 50s, and she's like a person. It's just weird to see my grandma just have a martini glass and just like middle-aged doing shit.
It's kind
at
of
a party.
Too. It's like
And
that
I'm
will
like-
be used sooner than you know it. Like,
Oh yeah, just like that. My mom started falling like an old lady because I called her. She lives with my grandma. I called her to ask about my grandma, and she's like, "Your grandma keeps falling." I'm like, "Oh man, that sucks. Like we need to." And she's like, "I keep falling. I've fallen 4 times in the past month." I'm like, "No, like you're supposed to watch over the other one. You can't both be falling. You're only like 60. Like what the hell?"
There's some
She's
knee
like,
pads
"I
or
fall
something.
and then I can't get up." I'm like, "You're like a cockroach."
you a jitterbug and a life,
like, what
life
the-
alert.
What the hell? Yeah, that stuff comes at you fast. How old are you, Dr. Garrett?
Oh,
Brown?
I'm 35, so kind of on the cusp of middle age
What
myself.
the hell? You look like a full ass
You look
man.
great.
You're only 5 years older than me.
I
Well,
think
it's the lighting. Put me in green.
Yeah, get some green on that. Put some
Yeah.
green
No,
on
no, I'm not saying you look old. I'm saying you look like a legit like.
He looks like an
man.
adult man that
he
has
looks like
this
an
shit
adult.
Ideal
figured out.
male.
I look
Yeah.
like a
Hey, it's
child.
not very flattering, to be honest.
You look a
Don't
little
stop.
like our friend Aqua FPS mixed with Norm Macdonald or something, but
Yeah, you got a little bit of the normie eyes. Those little
Yeah.
twinkle in the eyes. The
Well,
I know.
I
I know
wouldn't say
more
I
than you
cultivate it,
eyes.
but I do have a mirror back there. So
I did wardrobe and makeup for like an hour
Exactly right.
before this one.
there's 4 guys that are off screen right now. Just waiting for my next break.
After I heard about that Pompeii guy not drinking off, my mascara started running a little bit, but I got it back up
That
quick.
was. I haven't
Okay,
seen a
they
gut
weren't
punch
playing
like
D&D.
that. There
I
hasn't
have
been
to
a
go to
gut
the
punch like that on this
bathroom,
podcast in a while. That one hurt.
Yeah. Previous
change
guests
that.
have died, and I felt less bad about that
Yeah, we had
than what just was told. But
Oh man.
what do you tell me? There's a Discord redemption question. There's got to you asked a lot
no.
of people.
Okay, no, there. I did, and there was a guy that was like, "Hey, I've always heard about like assassins guilds and thieves guilds and stuff.
that's
Were those
cool.
like an actual thing? Like, how the hell does that even start?"
Well, for once, I can actually not disappoint you and say yes, but we don't know much about them. So supposedly,
out.
before the emperor, of course, yeah, I'm going to mostly disappoint you, but not entirely disappoint you. So supposedly for about 20 years before Augustus, the first emperor of Rome, kind of established order in the city, there were guilds of criminals, like organized guilds of criminals, of thieves, of murderers, you name it, who kind of ran parts of the city. We knew nothing about them, just that they existed. And then later on, there was a mysterious, we don't know if they were a guild, just a group of assassins who would kill people with poison needles. They would come up in a crowd, jab them with a needle, maybe drop dead. And this cropped up a couple times in Roman history. So some group that did this, it was their trademark. And we know nothing about them, about their goals, who they were, why they were doing this. But there obviously were people like this. And then the emperors had their own assassins, usually soldiers, who were kind of their secret agents, who they send against, senators who were, causing a ruckus, whatever else. So there were professional assassins, we just don't know usually too much beyond the fact that they existed and kill people.
They're just that damn good, dude.
They're just that damn good. Exactly.
Yeah.
Can I
It's
ask?
wild that it only lasted 20 years. Like the Wild West was like double that, and it's just weird that we still know about it. And how many thousand years ago was that? And it was just such a small little sliver of
Well, yeah, it's all our
one
sources.
career's worth of assassinating.
Exactly. One very busy assassin.
Yeah, that's it.
What are some of your like the things lost to history, like questions that kill you that you don't think they'll ever be the answer to? Like, do you have anything that like really pisses you off that you don't know the answer to it, or like what kind of things? You got like a white whale or anything? Something that,
yeah, right. Yeah, they're pacing throughout history.
Yeah, God,
Maybe we'll know the answer to it, and you'll
Yeah,
get to
maybe
know what it
we'll
feels
know.
like
Yeah,
for the
we
Pompeii
get-
question to come tumbling down in your face.
yeah, maybe maybe we can tell you. So that's why I
maybe we
asked.
can
Well,
crush
yeah.
your soul.
Yeah.
Go ahead, ask. What's the question?
I guess that for me as a historian, the most frustrating thing are these texts that are lost. That they come so close to being preserved sometimes, and then some idiot throws it in a fire, and that's the end of it. So really we think something like 1% what was written in the ancient world, not even probably, of the literary texts that were written by the Greeks and Romans. And a lot of the best stuff is gone. Either it was never copied in the Middle Ages, or just disintegrated in libraries, was burned, whatever, it's just gone. And so like the most famous female poet of antiquity, Sappho, for example, everyone loved her throughout antiquity. For 1,000 years, she's praised as one of the greatest authors who ever lived. We have like 4 of her poems, complete poems. And it's like from papyri from Egypt. The rest is all just lost, gone. And so things like that, there are a few authors who I'd love to have, those lost works. Like the greatest Roman historian is a guy named Tacitus. We have about a third of what he wrote. The rest is just, the medieval monk, the monks didn't copy it, or that scroll, got dumped into the trash by accident, you name it, it's gone. But having even one of those scrolls would, transform a lot what we know about antiquity, because we don't know so much, even,
You think there
about
was
the most
like a-
prominent people.
You think there was ever like a super badass like story that was like really like had sex scenes, had action, explosions, stuff like
absolutely.
that?
Oh yeah. Well, actually,
Explosions.
The monks were looking at it like,
right.
this isn't very
This
Christian
won't
and
fly,
shit.
yeah.
Like, put a fig leaf on this, throw it in the fire,
If we
and they get
can't
rid of
let
it.
this go to posterity. Well, actually, we do have. So there were trashy novels in the ancient world. We have a couple of them, which is great.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
include pirates. A lot of pirates. They're kind of a great plot device. They show up and like kidnap people. Good amount of
Pirates
sex
doing
too.
pirate things.
Everyone loves
Cool.
that. Explosions, sadly, no. But
And John Wick type stories or nothing.
exactly.
Damn.
And so we do have a couple of these things, and there are definitely much better, much trashier ones that have not survived. So we definitely have lost that kind of thing too.
Have you?
Sadly.
John Niquius.
Yeah,
Well, hold on,
yeah.
Sam. Shut up. I have a question.
Johannes Wickes.
Name for John Wick.
John.
John Wickius.
Yeah.
All right, carry on, Poob.
Have you read the book Lest Darkness Fall?
I have not read that book. I've
You are
heard it.
like the prime guy for it's like basically a book about like I don't know, an archaeologist or something that he gets sent back in time to ancient Rome and he's a historian and he's like, oh shit, and he just like goes to the library right away and it's like, oh my god, all these books, like all these texts. And also it's like when you're reading it, not as like an engineer or something, you're like, I'd be so fucked being sent back in time. And this guy knows so much about the history. He's like, oh, he knows how to just make like more modern technology out of what they have. I'm like, I wouldn't know the chemistry behind any of these. Like, I wouldn't know how to
It's like
speak to them or anything. And like,
This
he's
is
like,
a book that's like written for.
yeah, you should.
That is an oddly specific.
Yeah,
And
no,
when you
it's-
open it, does it say for Dr. Garrett Ryan? Like,
I mean, really,
it's
no,
like your
I'm
love
like-
interest that you don't know about.
I feel like a sticky note right now. Like, read this book.
the pre-word is, wouldn't this be badass?
Yeah.
Wouldn't this be cool?
Yeah, the subtitle, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember reading it and just being like, this guy is so goddamn lucky he got sent back.
Yeah,
Like
they got the
this
right
time.
guy.
What if he
No,
got
you
sent
know,
back to...
if like a random person got sent back in time, it's just gonna be like some random ass QAnon guy from Kansas or something. That's just gonna be like, this place fucking sucks. Like, where's Walmart?
Yeah, right.
It's not going to be like the perfect man for the time.
Who speaks English here? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, right. It's like talk slower. Hello.
Yeah.
Guys,
Do
don't-
you speak
Actually, I've wondered
Greek or
before,
anything?
like, if I were sent back, for example. So, like, obviously, you're trained to read Greek and Latin, but there's such a jump from reading that to speaking it. We don't know how it's pronounced usually. We have some idea, but I would sound like a robot at best. If I tried to talk to someone from ancient Rome, like I would stand out like a sore thumb if I wasn't wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah, it's one of the first things he's like, he goes to someone and it's like, I need you to make clothes for me. And then he gets someone to like make him like jeans basically, or like pockets. And
Right.
everyone's like, oh my God, what is this? Like, this is the greatest thing ever.
This is what we were waiting for.
Yeah.
It's just the greatest thing.
No, I'm sure they would beat his ass because like I saw
Totally,
like
yes.
in this awesome book I was reading.
Nice.
If you ever heard of it?
Good segue.
Yeah, there was just like an entire section about like, yeah, they knew togas sucked, but it's the fact that they sucked and wore them anyways, which is what made them so badass. Like they were like, watch me precariously carry this weird bed sheet and like pinch a fucking bag of coins and like I can shuffle my way through town and that's it. The fact that I can only shuffle makes me cooler.
Exactly.
So this guy wearing pants would have gotten stabbed in the gut immediately.
Sashay.
Freely's moving. Yeah.
You're not kind of sashaying about.
Yeah, right.
Street gutter trash.
That's freaking
Pockets?
barbarian.
You didn't need 3 people to help you put that on, loser. Yeah, people back then kind of sucked. I'm not gonna lie. The more I read this, the more I realized that they were kind of lame.
But people like, if you go back, would you want to live in the Roman period? I'm like, hell no, I wouldn't. I'd die in like 5, tops 2 years.
Yeah.
You get stabbed. The odds are you wouldn't have money. You just die in a hole.
Yeah.
There's no police in Rome.
Not really. They had these night watch people who tried to keep the city from catching on fire. It didn't really do a good job of that even, but they weren't really police.
Okay, so how about this? Hypothetical. Let's say my next door neighbor is Poob here. And Poob comes over and stabs my wife.
Mhm.
I didn't even pay him for it. Like he's doing this on his own.
Just happened.
Yeah. I'm mad. What kind of like
Isn't it like if you can get revenge and it's like just go like
what's my legal recourse there? Like what can I do?
Well, yeah. So it was kind of in your ball court to get the guy who did it. You had to hunt the guy down. They didn't have any a sheriff doesn't help you put up together a posse or something and find the guy. But if you find the murderer or the stabber or whatever and bring him to justice, then you will have an actual trial. You bring witnesses in, pretty much character witnesses, and he'll bring his own witnesses. So really often a Roman trial comes down to who knows more people and who's more important. Again, that's so different from today, maybe.
Okay, so what if you know that you're really unlikable? Like, could I just walk over there and hit him in the face with a rock and be like, eye for an eye, bitch?
You probably get away with it as long as that guy's also unlikable. If he's important though, then you're screwed because he's gonna send people after you and they're gonna knock your eyes out and that's the end of it. So it really comes down to it's a very very hierarchical society, and if you have clout, you've got a lot of clout. If you don't, well, toe the line. There is law that the Romans are very proud of their law, but unless you're powerful and a lot of time and money, you can't really exploit that law to your advantage very easily.
Wow, history
So the
repeats
trick is
itself.
to kill the person and everybody that's important to them. What are you saying? Like, at what point is someone going to make a fuss about finding a murderer? Like, you got to just like take out the immediate family and like their best friend or whatever, and then nobody's going to make a fuss. Yeah, everybody's going to be like, well, the house is empty now. I guess I'm moving in. Like,
Guess
are
we're
they going to
good.
give a shit?
Well, actually, people in Rome usually rented, so you have to work with the landlord. But otherwise, yeah, pretty much. I mean, it is to us feels lawless, but it's like most pre-modern societies. There's a lot of structures that are community based. So people have connections that are family, friends, the neighborhood. There's a lot of close ties. So if you just kill somebody, people in the neighborhood, or even if you're not very likable, are probably going to try and come after you because you're causing trouble in the neighborhood. So there's other like extra legal levels of authority and justice that come into play when this sort of thing happens.
I think like our Bizzle that just called earlier before we started this, he brought up a good point. He was like, I wonder if like people were nicer back before laws protected them from like, because you'd go out of your way when you meet someone new to be super nice because like there's not much stopping them from just stabbing you in the face. Like, how are you? Like, if it, like, like ridiculously over the top. People used to be cordial, and like now everything's like people are like rude to people right off the bat because there's laws and stuff that protect them. Don't say anything, Poob. Like I'm now coming out as a rude person in public.
He's rude as fuck.
I wasn't gonna say anything. That's way not.
I saw your fucking eyes. Like the second I said like law protects you, so you can be rude. We went to an REI together, and apparently
this
I was
is
very
on you.
forward. You guys keep bringing it up. It's eating me alive because I know I'm the rude guy.
You brought it up.
I did not think I was. I have people in my family that I know that are rude.
Anything?
And, no, you said it twice. It's oh, dude, it's eating at him. The night that podcast happened, where all three of you just came together and like, yeah, Sam's like kind of a dick to people. I was like, I went to bed that night and just stared at the ceiling. I was like, I'm that person. Like, I didn't realize.
Well, it's not good. It's not a fun person to be. I just have to assume. I've never been that guy.
Yeah,
but I'd have to assume in your case, yeah, it wouldn't feel great to hear that.
No, because there's a lot of people in my family that I'm like, that person's a dick to like a waiter or something like that, and I've always gone out of my way to be nice to them, and then
I'm becoming more.
Apparently, you don't like the guys at REI. Yeah. You just like
those people are just tools to be used, and I'm using them appropriately.
That's exactly how you were treating them. You're like, hey, work, bitch. Where's the snacks at?
Yeah,
like damn,
bro. Told to skull it. All right, he didn't even respect himself. I'm not going to respect him. All right, I walked up to him. I said, "Where's the camping gear?" You point me out to it. So yeah,
he goes, "Sir, it's only camping gear. What you're in an REI? What do you want?" Well, where's
when
the
they said I was
right behind you?
Yeah, there was some moments like that. Yeah. If he would have given me 1 second of sass, I would have called for the manager and got him fired. That was
yeah, I'd never seen someone snap to get an employee's attention before in my life. I was like, I almost had a heart attack in there. It was our first time all of us meeting. Like, it was like the first place we went when we all met. We went on a hiking trip a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, these seem like some nice guys. And we go on this REI and a flip switches, and Sam sees people that he deems below him, and he's just, you're a tool. You know, help me get what I want. And they're really nice.
Their job.
That's the kind of person that they're done with their meal, they just fucking wipe their trash onto the ground and go, janitor will clean it up.
If I didn't litter, those prisoners that do the highway pickup wouldn't have a fucking anything
they would
to
have
do.
to sit in their cells.
Yeah, have to go back to jail.
I'm freeing them temporarily.
That's what Pompeii Man was saying. He's like, if I don't jack off now, those students will have nothing to study for thousands of years.
Yeah, who will care if I do not
who's
pass that shit off?
If I just do a boring,
with my hands by my side, like they'll just pass me by. I want to be.
He's a hero. Is what we're learning.
What's his other arm doing? Can you see it in that? Is it just like on the ground? You should have been doing something funny with that hand too, like giving himself bunny ears.
Show it. What do you think his other hand's doing?
He was holding a pedo coin. This is last little bit of material left. He's like, oh, this is all I got.
The doctor doesn't know because he was too busy looking at the hand on cock. His other hand's just sitting on the floor.
Oh,
yeah, you know that.
Yeah.
That's important.
It's grabbing a box of Kleenex right next to him.
The hand's imploring heaven for more time.
He's pumping lotion with that hand. He's feeding grease. Keep choking that chicken.
Dude, I'm sorry. I'm going to disagree with you on that one. His head's poking out the window. He's looking up at the mountaintop like the volcano. He's like, how much time do I have left? That's exactly what that guy's doing. It's such a weird position and everything. That's what he's doing. This guy doesn't know. How much schooling did you go through to get that PhD? Was it
objectively too much, frankly? So, you know, most people who do the PhD get a master's in the way. I went right to the PhD program, so I saved myself a little bit of time and money that way. But so after undergrad, 7 years of PhD program.
Jesus.
And then so that's really kind of half of that's classes, you know, learning all the languages, you know, that you have to learn. Other half is writing your dissertation, which is kind of an endless essay that no one ever reads about some esoteric topic. And, you know, that was years, 4 to 7. But, you know, again, so it's
like, could you turn this in as a dissertation or does it have to be like way drier?
That's far too fun. Much too fun. If I took one of those topics in the book and wrote 500 pages about it, and half of that was footnote, then yes. But not, a bunch of short and, humorous essays, or they try to be humorous essays on, fun questions about antiquity. What you're supposed to do is kind of say, hey, I'm a scholar. I can do, what scholars do, and find some question that's never been answered, which is harder and harder in my field, where there's no new texts, and there's, a select source of archaeological evidence you work with. So, in my case, I found, I talked about the political uses of public space in some cities in what's now Turkey. And, got to travel. That was great. But, spent 3 years reading German excavation reports, basically, to try and write this endless dissertation. God. Yeah, it was pretty grim.
Yeah.
It's pretty grim, but also very impressive. But yeah,
it is impressive.
I got me the PhD, I guess. Oh, God. And I'm a YouTuber for some reason. So how did that happen?
You're like the only YouTuber with like $500,000 of school debt.
But yes, basically.
Of student loans, yeah.
Yeah, and you need those promotional dollars,
Yeah. God. Yeah, that's
yeah, no,
I can't imagine. I couldn't do that. That's ridiculous.
If anyone hearing this is thinking about a PhD in the classics, don't do it, bro.
Really, is it not worth it? You don't think it's worth it?
Yeah, it's
a cool title, I guess. I mean,
yeah. Again, I get to be pretentious if I want. Doctor, fine.
Yeah.
But otherwise, there's no benefit.
You ever seen that movie, Gladiator?
Oh well, naturally.
Yeah, like Joaquin Phoenix, who plays like Commodus.
Oh yeah.
In the movie, he's kind of like a dickhead, right? But like, I was reading this here book, if you've ever heard of it, written by Dr. Garrett Ryan.
Blair was just destroying that shot, by the way.
Yeah, reading this green book here. Bright green book.
Look for it on the shelves, bright green. You can't miss it.
Yeah. Green book of facts.
In your book, you describe Commodus as like he goes in to fight and stuff, but he only fights with like a wooden sword in the gladiator ring and stuff. He doesn't kill somebody. That doesn't seem like something a dickhead would do.
Well, he was a dickhead, but in different ways, I would say, than how he's portrayed in the movie.
He's stunting on him.
Snap at workers and stuff.
He would. He was an Ariana man. So Commodus, begins pretty innocently, with this obsession with gladiators, and so he's actually a very skilled archer. And so he'll do some demonstrations actually in the Colosseum where he'll shoot down 400
gladiators as they're fighting.
Yeah, no, not yet.
It's from the throne. Check this out.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah, duck.
Yeah.
But then he begins to appear in the arena itself. First of all, just blunted weapons, wooden weapons, so he won't kill anybody because part of this, he is kind of psychotic. He thinks he's a gladiator, but it's really a big PR thing, and so it's good PR for an emperor to show himself to be merciful. His clemency. And so you don't want to kill anybody in the arena, so that's being a bad emperor. You're just murdering people, your subjects in the arena.
Yeah.
But he had these parties at his villas where he would apparently tie people to trees and shoot them. So it wasn't necessarily a nice person, but he knew, good publicity when he saw it. And so he wouldn't kill people in the arena, but he'd kill them elsewhere.
Oh, okay. So it was like
some Joffrey shit.
Yeah, very much a Joffrey vibe.
Killing people like that is more of an evening thing. Like you want to do that in the comfort of your home.
You need a glass of wine.
After you
let your food digest.
Fire.
Right.
Yeah.
A party, just like all your closest friends and family.
Well, seriously, it would be a party. He dress them up as like the giants of myth who had like snake feet and stuff, so they couldn't move, and then he would shoot them down.
God,
Jesus.
Good sport, yeah.
Or so our historians tell us. We never know if we can trust some of our sources because they all hated the guy. So maybe they didn't actually do it. But
yeah, this guy banged historians' wives. And they're like, he was the dirtball.
Hey, he fucking put babies on his tour and he'd eat them. He was evil.
It's like what's funny is like I thought they just made him like incredibly evil for the movie, but I think the worst thing that Joaquin Phoenix did was bang his sister or something like that, which was like pretty tame by.
Yeah, I mean, really.
He wasn't shooting people with arrows like at a party.
Well, he actually killed one of his sisters in reality. He didn't do it personally. He had her executed, suppostly for plotting against him. Whether or not it's true, we don't know.
She wouldn't fuck him.
Exactly what it was.
That's what
You're
it was.
Plotting against me coming. Yeah.
That's why he wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Heretic.
Yeah. Well, getting turned down by a girl hurts, but when it's your own sister, that's a different kind of pain.
We're family.
Yeah, we're
Thanksgiving would suck after that. I'd probably get killed
She really
too.
knows you, you know.
Yeah.
She knows just what to say to piss me off.
And that word is no. Oh man.
It was who else in Gladiator was a dick or a cool guy?
Let's see. Oh
Was
wait, I
Russell
do
Crowe
have
that cool?
a funny link up to a previous episode that I was thinking of. So you have this video of like you have a couple of them where it's like surviving Roman buildings that are still in use today.
Oh yeah.
And you were talking about like there's like communal baths, like the big bathhouses where like people go and bathe all together. Poob's closing his eyes because I think he remembers what I'm talking about. There was this guy from Morocco.
You're assuming too much out of me. My mind is blank half the time. I'm just listening and drinking my little beer, dude. I'm not.
When you said Morocco, I got
damn it! Now I remember. Yeah, fuck.
There was this guy from Morocco that wrote in. We used to do like an advice segment before I realized how sad everybody's life was that listened to the show. They all have the same problems. They're just like, I can't like, I'm like 40 and I'm still living at home and like Walmart doesn't pay enough to let me move out. It's like mostly what people write in, but or like the girl doesn't like me and doesn't know I exist is usually the other one. But this guy had a very specific. Those are all my fans. Poob's fans write in and they're like, I'm trying to decide. Should I go for my master's or my PhD?
My people are beautiful, gentle souls with scholarly minds and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sam, go on. What was your biggest fan? What did he write in?
That Moroccan dude.
He lives in Morocco and he's like, dude, like I have this problem. My dad loves going to like these communal baths. Like they have them there apparently. And he's like we have gotten to like fights over this, but he loves to go to the communal baths and you wash with this goddamn it's like a sponge glove that you lather up with soap. And he's like, my dad insists on like washing my cock and balls and asshole at this communal shower, at this communal bath. And he's like, I'm fucking tired of it. I'm like 15. Like it's done. I'm not doing it anymore. Wow. And he's like, what do I tell him? And I'm like, I don't even know how to, like, you would think one no would suffice. First of all, you would think you would just have to say no once. But when your dad's like, it's happening. Like we're going, get in the car. We're going to the bathhouse. Like let's go back in time. You know, back to when Rome actually had like the baths still going. Like, do you think that's a tale as old as time itself? Kids fighting with their
particular
dads?
tale seems pretty specific. I could be wrong. You know, maybe this is a thing that we a rite of passage that's escaped our sources entirely. But I'm going to go ahead and so we do know that the Romans had some weird hangups about nudity, despite having baths where everyone was naked, or pretty much everyone's naked. Yeah. So like there was one Roman thought it was shameful for his son to see him naked. Even this is back in the Republican era when everyone was more uptight.
He's right.
So probably not that particular problem. But there was an issue with like men and women bathe together nude in some periods in some places. And that caused all kinds of problems, understandably.
Oh, yeah.
And so they had to be limited by certain numbers. It became illegal for a while. I said, okay, fine, no more co-ed baths. We can't do it, guys. Sorry. But I mean, for what it's worth, the kind of bath he's describing pretty much is a Roman bath. You know, the via a Turkish bath, basically. You know, the Turks took over, you know, the Eastern Rome, you know, the Byzantine Empire. And there were still some very small steam baths, Roman-style steam baths in Constantinople, and they took it over. And that was the origin of the Turkish bath. And so really, Turkish baths are Roman baths, just kind of, the streamlined version of it. So I guess it's a Roman-style bath, but a Roman problem? I don't know.
Have you ever been in one of these communal baths?
Yeah.
No. I mean, it's actually, can be a fun experience. Like if you want to spend some money in Istanbul, it's like a rub down, sauna, all that kind of thing.
Go with your friends.
Go with your dad.
If you're really comfortable with your friends,
Go with your dad, yeah.
Yeah, right. And a loofah, apparently.
That's what
Sponge glove.
Have you ever gotten a fist fight with your dad over washing your asshole at a Turkish bath?
Yeah, I guess we kind of glided over that.
Haven't we all? You know what I'm saying?
But maybe I was just me.
Well, if that guy's listening, you have a very specific problem that takes
Someone on Earth.
You're probably like one of 5 people that have ever had that altercation.
Yeah.
Where it's like, Dad, stop washing my asshole, and your dad goes, no. Absolutely not.
It's probably from love, I would think. He just really wants that to be clean.
I don't think you know how to clean your asshole, because when you do it yourself, the's so much poop still in it and stuff. So
this is for you, not me.
Yeah, our house stinks.
You're not living under my roof. You can clean your own asshole.
Get a job. You can clean your own asshole.
I'll know you're a man when.
Yeah. Your own loofah glove, and then you can. My
you
loofah
show up to the
glove,
bath
my
with
hand
your
goes
glove.
in it. What a strange, like, I don't know. It's just
didn't see
weird.
that coming.
I forgot all about that.
I was thinking about. I was watching your. You had a video on the like the bathhouses or whatever, and the whole time I was watching that, like, and you were talking about how like nice and shit it was, and and I was just thinking about
that guy.
What if there's 2 guys in the corner that are, the whole thing's stone, so that everything is that's said is echoing, and you just hear 2 guys bickering in the corners, like, Dad, knock it off! Like, that would harsh the vibe of a bathhouse real quick. Dad, stop touching my asshole, please. No. Not gonna happen.
You're making a scene. Shut up.
Yeah, you're making a scene. I was just watching, like, looking at the pictures of it. I was like, dude, there's no way, like, other people didn't see that fight happening. Unless it was a quiet thing on the way home. Like, he just whispered it.
Super steamy today.
Well, there's this one bath in Algeria. You probably saw from the video where it's a Roman bath that's still in use. After 2,000 years, it's a hot spring. So there's no plumbing to clog, so it's just still going. And it's just like 2 pools with every picture has 100 guys in those 2 pools. It's very, very crowded. So I can't imagine it's any different in this instance.
God.
Yeah.
How clean can you get in a bath with 100 people?
Well, that's a good question. And actually, it wasn't really for cleaning. It was more kind of the sauna experience, going from the hot to the cold. For cleaning, they would have themselves rubbed down with oil and then scraped clean with this pretty much a windshield wiper called a striggle. They kind of just wipe it down their back, and apparently it's good for the skin. Yeah, I'd imagine. So they kind of get the dirt and sweat off that way with the striggle. And then they plunge in the pool afterward, kind of as a spritz after the cleaning.
Oh my God, after I take a shower tomorrow, I'm gonna get a squeeze. I've got a squeegee for my mirror.
Exactly.
What's the thing?
Olive oil?
Scribble or a scriggle?
A striggle.
Striggle?
A striggle. Yeah, Strigio.
Oh, damn. Striggle.
I'm gonna start putting some olive oil on and get a little striggle.
That sounds like a Poob word. A striggle.
Yeah,
striggle.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
I know how comfortable it was. They have a sharp edge, but probably. Yeah, right.
It would take off a layer of skin.
Same stuff like in this book here I was reading. They were talking about like people that when you go to work out at the gymnasium and stuff, they would rub like olive oil and like dirt or something. I forget what it was all over them, and then they. At the end, they would scrape it off or like mix it with something, and then like the doctors would take it and they were like, "Yes, like let me fix your wound," and they would rub sweat garbage oil like on them or something. What was the
fuck?
So for gladiators, it's kind of this weird lionization of gladiators in Roman culture, and so people who are great athletes and great warriors, like gladiators, like their sweat is thought to have medical properties, and so it's more like a folk medicine thing as opposed to doctors, but like. Supposedly, like if you find like a mix of like the sand and like the striggle oil from a gladiator, it has like special healing properties.
You know that shit's not good when like the doctors of ancient Rome are like, that's malarkey. They're like, that's bullshit. All right, now back to whatever Roman doctors do.
Yeah, it's like, no, they're actually bleeding
They're
the
like
hell out of you.
twisting a chicken's head off and soaking you in the blood.
Exactly right.
That'll heal you up. Like that stupid
Our
sugar
shit
oil.
works, all right?
Yeah, right, but look,
I'm
we're
a
men
man of science.
and the chicken is destroying blood.
Oh man, have you ever seen that guy that does? He's like this older dude. I don't know the name of his channel, but he does. It's like History Squad or something like that. He's this older British dude, and he does like he did an entire video on like surgery to take an arrow out of someone's lung, like the surgery that they did to perform that, and it was fucking insane. Or it might have been a skull or something like that.
I mean, I haven't seen that, but I know what source he's talking about. So there's this guy named Kelsis wrote a pretty detailed description of how you would extract an arrowhead.
Really?
And it's interesting. I mean, the Roman battlefield medicine was actually pretty good. They had medics on the battlefield who would haul soldiers away if they could, and then back at camp they had an actual field hospital, which was actually got very good care. So you could still get infections and die from that, but you had a good shot of recovering for a thing like an arrow through like a shoulder or a non-vital part of your body. Like even Alexander the Great, for example, got shot through the lung. And would have died had not a doctor showed up and yanked it out. Actually, they took 3 guys to get it out. His bodyguard had a sword and tried to like wedge it out of his ribs. And then an actual doctor showed up and pried it out. And he survived. That would have killed almost anybody in the pre-modern world had he not had a doctor there. And then he bandaged up this gaping wound in his chest.
How badass was
cool
that
stuff.
guy, by the way?
Yeah, seriously.
Alexander. Yeah. That's they got some.
As someone
He
who
was great.
Still they say.
Wow.
How much ego?
How great was that guy?
How old was he when he started stomping on people and
He was
taking
20.
over the world? 20.
He was 20 years old when he became king of Macedon, and he was 32 when he died.
Jesus.
So I'm now 3 years older than Alexander was when he died. He conquered the entire known world basically by that point. So not a bad career.
That's pretty badass. Oh, I was reading about that. There's like some emperor named like Elagabalus.
Elagabalus, yeah.
Elagabalus, yeah. And everybody like says like how horrible of a king he was and everything, or how horrible of an emperor. And like I'm reading through his stuff, and he like became an emperor when he was like 14, and they're like he was just doing so many like crazy sexual things. I'm like, oh, you put a 14-year-old.
I mean, seriously.
Of course, that's what he's gonna do. They were like, he was like marrying Vestal virgins and shit.
Yeah, really.
Which is like, duh. Like I'd be doing like if you say I have absolute power and like
you're 14 years old. I mean, yeah.
Show me the pussy I can't fuck. That lady, I'm doing it. All right, I'm marrying her. Like that's all I would do. I'm absolutely not surprised that he only. That.
Oh yeah, I mean, even like we only have a few portraits of the guy because, of course, he was condemned after he died, and they broke all the statues. But he looks 14. He got this like wispy mustache,
kind of like this.
And he was from Syria
too.
And yeah, exactly. I mean, I thought it was really cool with that, the facial hair rocking. But so he's from Syria, and he's also the high priest of this kind of orgiastic cult. Of the god Elagabal, that's where his name comes from. So you pretty much put the orgiastic priest of a sun cult in charge of an empire who's 14 years old. This is what happens.
Yeah, wow. Good gosh.
So he like grew up with that. Like orgies
exactly.
were very
they
common.
were raised to be like the priest king of this city, Emesa, and then became emperor unexpectedly. And no one was ready for what happened next.
Unexpectedly.
How did his reign end? Like what? How long did it last?
He ruled for 4 years, actually, or almost 4 years.
Okay.
And then he was very murdered.
Yeah.
As one expects. It was surprising us that long, to be honest. But his family was very powerful and less crazy than he was, and so that kind of kept him in power longer.
Okay.
And they pay the soldiers. That always helps. Pay the troops, and everyone's kind of on board.
God.
So like were orgies like it seems like that was a very common thing for emperors, and then all of a sudden this guy does it and he's like a bad dude. What's up with that?
Well, there are orgies and there are orgies. I mean, it's more of a.
This guy was next. He was like into BDSM.
We have this. Yeah, right. We have
like
this image of Rome that kind of comes from Hollywood, where it's kind of just a nonstop, orgy, debauchery, bacchanal, you name it, and that happened, no question. But most emperors at least found it prudent to project an image where they're not, raving sociopath, debauched lunatics.
All right, let's shoot this person back at the tree in my house.
At the house party.
Yeah,
Right, exactly. And Elagabalus didn't really get the message on that. He kind of missed the memo, and was very publicly the priest king of an orgiastic sun cult in the middle of Rome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like Vestal virgins, were they like the nuns of their days?
Sort of. I mean, there's only 6 of them at any given time. There might be far fewer than you would think. And they actually can marry after 30 years. So that they become
married after you're not.
Well, they're yeah, really. I guess if you're into that, But with their elected, they're chosen very young from the best families in Rome, and they're trained, and they go through these rituals. But yeah, they're after 30 years, they're home free. They can do whatever they want. They can marry, they can go out, and they're often very wealthy because they come from these rich families. They kind of set up a house, can have house parties, with the Vestal virgins or former Vestal virgin.
Oh,
so yeah, they're part-time nuns. They serve their time, then they're out.
Like sorority girls, my God.
Right? Yeah.
God.
Damn.
Rome rocks. History rocks. Yeah.
If you're boy empress or Vestal virgin, there are good ways to do it.
My God, I've never heard of him.
Yeah, he's pretty obscure. You kind of only hear about him because of the strange stuff he did.
Yeah.
And we don't know, again, the source problem, because everyone hated him. And we have these later sources like, well, did he actually do this ridiculous thing, or something kind of like it, not quite as ridiculous? Like, supposedly, he had like a bunch of pet tigers, or I should say they're leopards, who he would just unleash on guests at parties, but they're all defanged. So they couldn't kill anybody. They would just jump on them.
Oh,
God.
That's giant horrifying. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's kind of badass, though.
A little bit of
a leopard isn't badass, but then once it's done,
they just got a pack of defanged leopards to follow them around.
Gummy.
They're
no claws too. They're just
coming on this dick.
Yeah,
what the hell are they doing with this?
They can't savage people.
Christ.
So he's nicer than Tyson. I think Mike Tyson's tiger took someone's arm off or something.
Did he?
Yeah, exactly.
Get a tiger?
Yeah.
Have you seen The Hangover?
According to the documentary film, The Hangover.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it loves songs. Oh, you haven't seen that?
Yeah.
So, what about I asked you about Gladiator. What about another historical
Troy?
Not Troy. I was going to ask about 300. Yeah.
Hey.
That guy, the dude that's all deformed with the hunchback.
The hunchback orgies.
Yeah,
I knew
Please tell me he's real. That was a real guy.
Yeah. And there's a guy that he betrays the Spartans, and then Xerxes pays him.
Right.
Because he's always just shoved away from everybody in Sparta. And Xerxes dude, you're like a freak. I got a couple Cronenberg freaks having an orgy over here. You want to join them?
You want us to hang out with them? Yeah.
I think that's a common thing in Persia.
Well, no, actually. It's one of these. 300 is one of these things where you take an actual historical thing. The Battle of Thermopylae.
Orgies. Oh,
and the orgies. Well, yeah, thing. And pretty much, I don't know what to say. What you did to it, you kind of just run through a Frank Miller filter and see what happens. So yeah, Xerxes had this huge court, a bunch of concubines and stuff, and often they did have, like a dwarf for somebody as a court jester. But Ephialtes, I think, is the character in the movie, the hunchback, and there was a deserter, a local guy named Ephialtes who did betray the Spartans. But he wasn't a hunchback, as far as we know. He was just a dude.
Just said he was, right? Fuck that guy.
Yeah, pretty much. He wasn't even a Spartan. He was just a random local guy who was like, I'm going to make, 100 gold staters out of this. Just told the person what was going on.
So he didn't even get a regular orgy? I thought you were going to say he's a regular dude, and then he got...
They got, a great
they just sent him to a regular... Xerxes is here's a normal person orgy over here.
Yeah, right.
He didn't even get that? He just got some gold?
Yeah, here's the weekday crowd. As far as we know, yeah. He's just... He's just a random dude who, for
another childhood hero of Sam, smashed today.
Yeah,
this guy fucking sucks. I'm throwing this book in the garbage.
Yet again to rain on your parade. That's all we got.
Right.
Because if a guy like that could get in an orgy, then a guy like Sam could get in one. Now he knows he's a normal guy.
Mm-hmm.
He had so much hope.
He didn't even get it.
Or Ephialtes, the masturbating guy, are two heroes.
Yeah.
The guy masturbating in the face of death, and
exactly,
the
you know,
incredibly
defying the
disfigured
volcano.
guy getting invited to an orgy. Both my heroes gone.
Yeah.
It's been great having you on.
I'm leaving a shell of a man.
Tell me, Brian.
you know,
look at Brian's room. Is that the most depressing setup you've ever seen? And you know what the saddest part is? He's got money. He's not like poor.
Yeah.
He has money. That's his house. He's got like just on the other side of that room, he's got the best like home theater media setup. Great.
Just chooses to have the.
Is a room he spends 95% of his time, and it is just sad. It's
just
so
the white
sad.
walls and the cot, and yeah, yeah. You know,
Put a poster up or something like. Like you got books in the background and stuff.
It kind of looks appropriate, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I at least like one, like, you know, a little bit of wall art that goes a long way.
A poster or something.
Accent wall.
Anything. Yeah, an accent wall. Should get one of those giant like "Don't tread on me" flags.
Yeah, right. There we go.
Yeah,
that would raise some eyebrows.
That would. He's Canadian, so it wouldn't.
Oh no.
Yeah, he should get some insane like U.S. militia. Like some fucking weird Idaho shit. And he's like from Toronto. It's not even fitting at all. Just get that on his wall.
Okay, you know, I'm from Chicago, and I was walking somewhere a couple years ago. This guy had a Confederate flag just in his window. I'm like, dude, you're in Illinois. What are you doing? Northern Illinois. Like, this doesn't count here.
You ever go to do a lecture and you're just like, and the crowd ain't responding, and you're just like, come on, man. Like, how do you?
Well, you know, yeah, there's ways. Yeah, I always hated lecturing. So I had one class. It was like a Roman history survey with about 150 students, you know, one of those big lecture halls.
Yeah.
And that was my least favorite class I ever taught. So you just see people checking out, you know, on Facebook, you know, on their computers. So I tried to break it up by having like, you know, do like ask questions, you know, okay, show of hands. People think this is true or this is true. Make it more interactive and engaging, but you know, a lecture
get their attention for 12 seconds, and then
oh, it's
God, I hope I'm not called on. All right, back to Facebook.
Yeah, okay, I'm out. You know, then midterms they all perk up, you know, briefly, and finals, but that's it.
You need to think about being on the reverse side of that. Like, you've actually been to way more schooling than me, so never mind. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It is insane the shit that someone will look at in a lecture hall on their laptop, knowing that 75 people in either direction can see their screen. I'm just like, I was in community college, man, and people would just open up like they'd be getting dick pics in their DMs on like Facebook and stuff, and I'm like, I can like see that. Like I have a line of sight. They don't even look over their shoulder. There's like, I don't fucking care. I've had 2 or 3 people that I'm just like, that is something so private that is like right there, and I just have to be a good person and not
like what? Like what's an example? Like someone's nudes or
like nudes,
other people. Oh god.
Yeah. There's also a great one where a guy went to go do a presentation and he brought a thumb drive that just had like, it was just a like porn on a thumb drive and then like his PowerPoint, and he plugs it in and you just see all the thumbnails and he just
was it to like large really icons?
Like the projector's up. He just scrolls down really quick. Oh, click, and he like clicked it really quick.
Is that a dog? What was that? What the?
Why didn't you put that in a subfolder or something?
Seriously, you for example, you know, general images. The
lecture, did you have to like grade stuff, or were you?
Oh yeah, so you know, a lecturer is pretty much just a cut rate professor. You do everything a prof does, just for much less money. So for a smaller class, you do all the grading yourself. So all the papers, all the tests, you name it. You know,
did you ever see this technique where like if someone doesn't want to turn something in on time, like they haven't done it, you take an MP3 and then you rename it like archaeology paper whatever, doc. Send it over, and then you try to open it and it's like it's corrupted, and then the student goes like, oh, it's corrupted, I'll bring it to you tomorrow on a thumb drive full of porn probably. And then, they're like, look, actually right, it gives you extra time, you know.
That happened to me probably 2 or 3 times, but I never had the energy to really track them down.
Every paper I did that.
Yeah, it's one of these things, but at a certain point you kind of just check out. You know, as a lecturer, professor, you name it. It's like, okay, whatever, just turn the paper in. You're gonna get a C anyway. Just turn it in.
I'm not gonna even look at
it.
Like, does
It's
that get
bad. Like, you read the
graded?
first page, like, yeah, this is an A minus. Yeah, this is a B. Yeah.
Dude, I've definitely talked about this before, but that happens so much more often than you'd hope. Like,
Oh yeah, it's
especially with TAs and stuff. I had this paper. It was one of my first. It was freshman year of college. Like my first long format thing I had to write. Long. I mean, compared to a dissertation, it was like 12 pages.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was no. I think it was supposed to be like 18 to 20. It was our final for this class.
Yeah, it's a long undergrad
It's a
paper.
coding class too, so it's like, why are we have to write a paper about the movie AI Artificial Intelligence? And I'm like, what is going on? Like,
I could write about that. I thought you would have to write about coding.
No, you have to write about
AI
like
I could do that.
technological stuff about the movie. It was so like, what is going on? Like, I'm simultaneously glad I don't have to code, and also like, why does it have to be so long? Like, I know my TA won't read this, and I'm just a massive procrastinator. It's bad. And I, was really bad back then. And I tried to write it all in one day. And I quickly found out, I'm like, oh my God, I gave myself like 8 hours. Like, it just isn't humanly possible for me. And I think I got about 12 pages down. And they had in the guidelines, like, for each page you're missing that's less than 18, it's like 10% off. So I'm like, oh, I'm fucked. But whatever, maybe I'll get like a 10% or so. I've probably got about 3 good pages in this 12. And I turned it in, and my artificial intelligence, no, my TA, was like, "Oh yeah, it's something's wrong with the file. Can you resend it, and I'll grade it real quick?" And I'm like, "How are you gonna grade it? It's 12 pages." Yeah. I resend it to him. I didn't do any of this, shiesty like make the code corrupted. Like, I just sent in a paper. Within 5 minutes of me emailing it to him, he just gives me an A minus, and I'm like. Yeah. Oh my! Like, I was saved, but also like
I stole.
You didn't even try. You didn't even try to make me pretend that you read it. Like, you physically, you could not have read it.
You waited 15 minutes.
You emailed them back. Thanks for the A minus, but what was your favorite part?
No, I wasn't gonna risk it at all because I was like, I should have gotten a 20% on this by the guidelines. Like, oh God, like I was so. It's just like if you're established like good student, they're just like, well, whatever. Like,
that is absolutely true because I have done that.
Yeah,
so I was a TA for years when I was in grad school, and honestly, pretty much around paper 3 what they're going to get the rest of the year, and that or maybe it's probably self-fulfilling prophecy because you don't check at a certain point. And it's funny you mentioned. I had one student. It was a midterm, I think, so they had like a 5-page essay as part of the midterm, and obviously this student started at like 3 a.m. the night before and was due at like 9 a.m. And so like page 3 just kind of stopped mid-sentence. She said, "I'm so sorry," and just submitted the paper. Like, oh, wow.
I would do little like notes like that's and it's like half the time I think it'd make them more angry, and half the time they're like, there's just a human behind this. But I would write like in the brackets of my code and stuff, just like I have no idea what happened here. Like I'm just gonna be real with you. Like this is horrible, and I know it. But like I tried to the best of my abilities. But some really cool TAs definitely got me through a couple classes where they're just like, yeah, man, like I hate this professor too. And like they're like, I'm a grad student. I don't even really get this. Like, whatever, you can get a B on it. Or like, they'd be like, here's maybe the homework doesn't have to be so hard. And that saved me in a couple. I mean, I would have been fine anyway, but wow, it saved so much time.
It's kind of like they're kind of fickle demigods. I think of them,
like what gods?
They're fickle demigods.
Yes, really.
The pantheon,
they are.
But,
Hercules. Yeah, I love those guys. They're some of my best friends that I never talked to outside of class or ever since. Yeah, they were awesome. Sam,
I remember I had this old lady at the library.
Yeah, this is where Sam got his college degree, the library.
Yeah. No, it was the school library.
School of Hard Knocks.
At the community college in town.
Okay.
And I was like doing some history paper or something like that. And if you just go in there and act real stupid, they'll basically do everything for you. I was like, I'm doing
what is that? Weaponized incompetence or something?
I went in there and just did the Poob stare for 30 seconds without saying a word to
how I look. So people do that in like in the kitchen or something. They'll be like, I don't know how to cook it, and then like their spouse will take over. It's like a tactic old as time. I'm sure that
it really is. Learn
so I went in there and I was like, yeah, I need to do like a paper on Elizabeth Bathory. And the lady's like, all right, so you use this thing to find the book. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. She was like, you just like click the thing, insert, and then it'll find with the Dewey Decimal System where the, and I'm like, I'm lost. And she's like, all right, I'll do it for you. And she like found every book that mentions this lady, piled it up, gave it to me. And I was like, well, where is it in the book? She's like, well, right here. She's like, you know what I mean? She opened up the books and put little markers on the pages.
Oh my God.
Like, where the lady showed up. So the next day I brought her a MacBook and opened up Microsoft Word and I said, all right, hop to it. She didn't know all that, but she did mark everything for me and give it to me. Awesome.
I had a friend that was like, to a manipulative point, good at doing that, but to his mom, for like science fair or history fair or history day in junior high, we were partners, and I'd go over to his house and he'd be like, I don't know how to do it. And it was like him and his single mom, and they had a very interesting relationship already. And she was always like, you need to do, like, you need to get this done. Like, you need to get good grades, go to college, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, whatever, I don't care. And she's like, you will care. And then she'd always end up just doing it for him. And I remember one year for history day, he's like, nah, man, like, I've got the final board. Like, don't worry about it. I'm like, that's like, no way. Like, we've got 2 days. Like, what are you talking about? And we get there, and it's a board that neither of us have ever seen before. And we had to present this history day project of like stuff where like the Salem witch trials, and we're just reading it off the board to the judges. I think we made it to state and like got an award for, because it's like educated mom just did the whole project, and we're like 7th graders. We have no idea. We'd ask us follow-up questions and be like, we just somehow bullshit our way through it.
Look at the board.
Please, it's
right
really
here,
laid out. Every one of your, she had a list of 500 most commonly asked questions
on the back. If the professor asked this, answer.
Oh wow, yeah. If A, then B.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I had a very similar group project. I've told this before, but it's on the subject. I had a very similar group project where we were supposed to get together and do some big ass thing on whatever. It was like biology or something like that. And it was like one of those things where everybody collaborates and makes one big paper, and one of those stupid science fair things that you open up. And I did like not only my section. Each person was supposed to write like a page or something like that. And then you were supposed to put them all together. And one person was supposed to do the conclusion in the beginning. Our group was short staffed. So they were like, hey, you write a section and put them all together and do the beginning and the end. And like the night before, I was hounding people going like, give me your parts. Like two or three people sent in like 3 sentences, 4 sentences. And I'm just like, and I put them, it was like the introduction, which was like almost a page. And then just like everybody's together was not even 1 page. And then my section, which was this huge fucking dump on the end of it. And then the conclusion that I had to write too. And I was like, overwhelming majority of the pages are mine.
And the intro and conclusion.
Yeah, like everything in there is mine. And I was like, you know what? Like, this is why I'm not like a good academic person or even like a business person. I'm so spiteful.
You are spiteful, yeah.
I'm spiteful, dude. I was like, I brought it into the classroom and I showed them and I gave them the paper. And then I fucking walked out and went to the library, and they had to do that presentation where they were like, yeah, because they'd never seen it before. They're like, because I did the board too. I forgot about that. I did the poster board. Yeah, so this is like rabies or something like that. Apparently it's a disease. Says right here, it kills you like every time you get it. Whoa, I didn't know that.
It's real bad news.
Yeah, and the professor, like, I saw him after, like, right after the class. He's like, where the fuck were you? You're like, they struggled so hard. And I told her.
They're
I was like,
cheaters.
yeah, she was
While
like
crying, you were
Dude,
fucking sobbing. Like, hey, they didn't do any of their work. And I did all the-
You're in the library.
And did she fucking help you?
Talking to your favorite librarian that probably did the project for you anyway.
Yeah.
Actually, I did have a moment where I was in the library, like almost crying, and it was I had a presentation in front of a big group of class people, and my friend at the time on Xbox, Tony, also had a presentation the same day, and the class happened to be at the exact same fucking time too, and he's all the way up in Pennsylvania or wherever the hell he is, upstate New York, and I like go into the classroom and I chickened out. Like I snapped for some reason. I was like, I can't talk in front of the people. And so I like ran and hid in the library. And while I'm sitting there, it felt like I've never had like, I guess that's anxiety or something like that. It struck me in that moment. And I was just like, oh, like I can't do it. I can't bear to talk in front of all those people. I get a fucking text message from Tony and he's just like, I just killed my presentation, man. How did yours go? And I'm like, oh, fuck. And by the time I got it, it was like, I got the text like right when class would have ended. And I was just like, why didn't I just fucking do it?
Yeah.
It was like the worst. Man. But you lectured in front of like hundreds of people. Did you ever just walk in and go like, I don't want, you ever see like a hot babe in the classroom and be like, I don't want to fucking do this, talk about lame ass Pompeii man or whatever?
I mean, it was more just watching the visible disinterest on their faces that was discouraging. It's like, wow, no one wants to be here and I'm one of those people who doesn't want to be here.
Have you ever tried like flexing maybe more while you're up there?
I mean, it was more a matter of like, just to get away with while you're up there. It's like, well, actually, there was no Roman Empire. To this point, I've been misleading you actively, and you can all leave now because the joke's over. Yeah. It's one of these things where, you just kind of power through because you're being paid not much. Yeah. We are being paid to do it, so you kind of have to. And yeah, I always hated lecturing. The fun part about teaching at the college level is the discussion sections where you have students, who actually care, who want to talk about this stuff. The upper level courses, you can kind of actually engage with them. So here's why this is interesting. Because the sad fact is most history classes turn into a string of names and dates, which just obscures what's cool about history, which is the people, obviously, that lived it, and kind of these grand scale patterns, how we think and work and act as a species. And I try to get at that in my classes, but, I don't think I succeeded all that often because I didn't, you just watch everyone kind of staring at whatever they were doing on their computers, the dick pics, apparently.
You ever just like make up shit because they're not listening?
No.
Yeah, probably not consciously. It's like, yeah, how long, it wouldn't be hard. Everyone has Google now, which makes it a lot harder to do that sort of thing. Yeah. But, it's like, Julius Caesar was actually 114 when he was killed. And, whatever.
He collected muscle cars and stuff. He was
exactly. It's like totally unrelated
like
slides.
One person in the back, like, what did he just say?
he actually owned 20% of the world's Bitcoin, and he lost it.
Caesar invented Bitcoin. The problem is you always have the students in the front rows who actually are paying attention. It's like 5% of the class, but they are watching you, and so they keep you honest.
I wish you would have been one of my history. I only had to take one history class in college, but history was my jam in junior high and high school. I would, history bullshit all the time, government class, try to take the most, go to competitions and stuff all the time, bring back trophies. Sam, you probably didn't know this. Used to be a little bit of a bookworm. And then this teacher I had freshman year of college, I don't think I've ever, I'm the type of student, I would feel horrible if a professor looked at me and he can tell I'm disinterested. So I'm like, oh yeah, it was just basically what you said. Like, here's a date, here's what I list. And it was at 8 a.m. on the far side of campus. Yeah. And it was like a 2-hour class or something, or an hour and a half. And I'm just not I think that's why I'm now a YouTuber streamer guy. Something's broken in me. I can't wake up. I can't be present that early, no matter how much coffee I chug in or anything. So I'd try to sit front row. That way it's he will see me if I fall asleep. And I got called out multiple times for are you asleep right now? And it's never happened to me in my life. And I'm like, oh, you're just fighting it though, doing that.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, okay, what did I just say? And it's like, I have no idea.
Can you play that back to me?
Yeah, like I don't know where I am right now. I don't know what's happening. That was like one of the most tedious classes I've ever taken in my life. And it was like, like that was my one chance at college history.
I mean, it is, and it's, we kind of gotten better at it in the classics where we do like Greek mythology classes, which, it's hard to screw that class up.
Percy
because
Jackson,
there's so much
Percy Jackson.
Well, exactly. There's demand for it too.
Yeah.
And so often that's the biggest class far and away in the department is that. Then maybe Roman history or something, or like, maybe Roman sports or something if you have a cool professor. But it's kind of a thing where you have a few survey courses and then whatever the prof cares about, which might be some crazy esoteric thing that no one else cares about. And the students just have to kind of suffer and go along with the program.
Yeah, just like try to memorize, and then you get the test, and it's just like multiple choice dates. Like,
yeah, right. And then write an essay about it.
Yeah, do
so,
a little.
Yeah, maybe
YouTube. I don't know. Was this guy jerking off or not? I don't know.
I don't even remember. There's the fact, and then there's what I want to believe.
Oh man,
I do remember having the opposite happen, Poob, where like this guy was so excited to teach a group of kids, and then their complete disinterest. I saw like the light leave his eyes. Yeah, he was just
that happened to this guy over the year.
Exactly. Right.
I don't think he was excited to begin with, but once he realized, like, oh, they really hate this, he was like,
the guy in the front row is falling asleep. Like,
I lost them all.
Yeah,
and that's the thing, you don't do it because you don't do it for the money, because there is no money in teaching in college level. You do it because you love the subject, and you teach. Often they're not natural teachers. You teach it because you're going to have to teach. But it happened to a lot of people I knew that you just get so burned out. And that's just in grad school, let alone do it for 40 years after grad school.
Yeah.
So I can't really blame them sometimes. They're just kind of fighting against the current.
It's insane how much of a difference, though, like a good teacher makes in just like getting kids interested in things. I remember in high school, my favorite teacher by far, it was for AP Environmental Science. I didn't know, like, I was like, oh, whatever, like Animal Planet's cool. After that class, it was the first class where I learned, like, actually what my learning style needed to be, which is not conducive to procrastinating. It is like repetition. I was always like, I'm a visual learner. Turns out, no, I'm not. I need like flashcards. Yeah. This is the only class in my life I've made flashcards for every, this guy wanted you to be engaged. And for some reason, I'm like, I will follow you to the ends of the earth. And he had like a little ranking, like top 3 students on the whiteboard. And if I wasn't on that ranking, if I was in top 2, I was going home and I'm like, God, like, what the hell's wrong with me?
You fucking SpongeBob? Like,
everyone in that class. That class was nuts competitive for those like stars.
That professor had you eating out of the palm of his hand.
He was like also just right. It doesn't hurt. He was just a really cool guy. Like you could just, and he was super intelligent. Like this guy could have had me, come on over after class. Like this guy could have got me, but he didn't. He's just that cool of a guy. And it like literally made me. I had no idea what major I was going to do going into college. I'm like, environmental science. Like I will do what this guy does. Wow. And I got like a half semester, and I'm like, okay, this guy is a lot better at this than. There's actually a lot of like other sciences you have to take in college to get this degree.
Science and environmental science.
No, like, God, it's hard. I have to take like advanced chemistry shit still. Like,
I thought we were just talking about trees and
physics. I just want to tell you about cloud formations or something. Yeah, it was a shock to say the least. But
I had a super engaging teacher the same way. That was like they had me just whatever they were talking about that day, I was totally into it. And they bought me first edition of The Shining, Stephen King's book, and they super nice, super engaging teacher and everything. And I always had fond memories of them. And then like the year after I got out of their class, they got fired for molesting a kid, and I was like, like the only teacher I liked went on a chaperoned on a Washington D.C. trip and molested a kid in a hotel room.
Yeah,
And I was like, man, if I didn't get so many suspensions in school, I could have been on that DC trip.
It could have been me, man.
I remember I was dating Abby at the time because it was like 7th or 8th grade or something like that.
Oh my Lord.
And she went and I didn't, and I was like, that was like the biggest.
He was
thing.
like, damn.
I was like, what the fuck? Like, she was like, you can't go with me. Like, that was supposed to be like a huge date for us, was going on the Washington DC trip together. And I had too many fucking suspicions for doing something dumb.
Our school never. That's like a classic. Like you go to the DC trip. Our school is so poor. I remember going back to science fair.
Mill.
Yeah, we were like, where can we go in Indiana? That's like within 20 miles. Like, you want to go to Gary? You guys want to go to Gary, Indiana?
Yeah, steel mill stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, this actually used to be a prospering steel town, but Pittsburgh, they just it gets you all hating Pittsburgh and stuff. But like, I remember one of my science fairs. Like, I think that teacher where I'm like, I'm going to impress this guy. I went to most. Like, I'm going to make, like, I was like, like Edison, I was Tesla, I was thinking all these, every project I was like, can I do this? He's like, there's no, like, we don't have the funds. I'm like, I need a piece of glass and like some like fucking tubes. And he's like, no, you can't do that. He got so whittled down to where I ended up Googling, I'm like, fuck this. I just Googled like, good science fair projects for like elementary schools, like students on a budget or something. And I did a, oh my God, sorry. My mom just texted me about the dog that I was telling you about, Sam, earlier. And I told her it's the passing comment, like, let him name my mom just bought a dog without telling my stepdad. And he's, understandably very angry. But it's very cute. And I'm like, let him name it. Maybe they'll calm it down. Now he's coming up with like, shit, fuck. He's just going to name it like a spite name. But the science fair project was like, he's like, okay, you can go get like roly-polies. Like I was going to get roly-polies and then have like their environment, like little dirt, like environment. And then have a light shining on a rock with their food and be like, would they go out of their environment to get food? Like, it's like some super simple.
Torturing roly-polies.
Yeah, he was like, the professor's like, okay, we can afford, I'll order you a pack of roly-polies. I get them, they're all dead.
They come in packs.
I unrolled them and just like set them out on the picture. I did the whole project the night before. I did the night before. I just wrote a shit ton of fake results. I'm like, this many, and they were all like, I had to bring the box with them to the thing where the judges would walk around. And they're like, where are they? I'm like, well, the ones you can see like died to get the food. Like they like, killed themselves. And they're like, oh my God, like that's remarkable. I'm like, there's not a living roly-poly left. Like,
did you try getting a grant to scale it up to human size?
Yeah, would a human go into like a death laser,
like a big oven to get a Big Mac or something?
The most embarrassing and worst. I've definitely talked about this before on here. The year after that, so this is like that year is like I love science. The year after, it's like I love science. Whatever. I didn't have that teacher. I did. Quite literally a kindergartner's science fair experiment and still got like a B plus on it. It was, here's a thing of hot maple syrup. Here's the thing of cold maple syrup. If I drop pennies in these, which one will hit the bottom faster? Like, does temperature affect viscosity? And I remember that professor walking by, judging, and just being like, Samuel, like the disappointment on his face, just like, oh, what is this? And I still got like a pretty decent grade on it. It's like, whoa, hot syrup, penny drop quicker. This was also like one day before it's due, and it's like, what do you need?
Have you seen that classic sci-fi or science fair one where it's like the kid with like he's standing by his poster board. It's like, how much sawdust can I add to Rice Krispie treats before people realize? And he's like, it seems to be about 14% of the Rice Krispie can be sawdust before someone goes like.
Like that's even like that's like the same like type of like no like whatever, but so much better than like Oh,
That's like someone that has capability, but they fucking hate the class.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine was just like complete lack of
I want
motivation,
out.
and I have one day to do a science fair project with what I have in my house. I Googled, what can I do with honey and pennies? That's all I have in my house.
Wow.
So do you think you ever got hoodwinked on a paper? Like someone turns it in and it's just like the first 2 pages are writing and then the rest is just like copy and pasted Wikipedia.
Oh yeah, I mean it's pretty easy to tell, to be honest. Like once you know a student, especially like the first paper, you kind of get a baseline for them. You kind of know how they write. You know, of course, some students
do you
improve.
think there's any students that knew that you had that method and they're like, I do the first 3 good, and then 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th paper? Baby, I can just take like newspaper and just turn it in. Like he'll think I wrote it.
You know, they've earned it, really. You know, at that point, they have earned that grade.
You do 4 good papers for me?
Yeah, you know what? Did they game the system? Fine.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like I some obviously cheated. You haul them in at that point. It's like, okay, you're cheating. You know, you're gonna zero on this paper. Don't do this again. You know, it becomes kind of a repetitive thing at a certain point. But usually, it's not a huge problem because the students are often I have freshmen. You know, those are the entry level kids, so they're still kind of motivated a little bit. They don't really know how college works yet, but still kind of motivated in the beginning, at least.
Yeah, that first paper for most freshmen, I bet you, is pretty good. That's like the best you're going to see a paper turned out.
Exactly. And then it's just hardcore slump around the mid. And then midterm perks up again.
The papers get worse as you get higher up. The worst paper ever produced is the dissertation for most people.
Exactly. Yeah. You
They
just
write
kind of
one page and the rest is just...
30 pages that you wrote. I'm so sorry. I can't keep going. I'm going crazy.
There's one person that made a dissertation. Everybody else steals it and just puts their name at the top.
Oh, yeah.
There's one stupid sap that wrote one.
Even for undergrad, we had the option in my program. It's like you can write a 50-page paper or you can do an internship. And it's like everyone's trying to get an internship anyway, so it kind of is. I felt kind of bad about it. It's like who gets an internship does that, and then it's like double fucking slap in your face. If you can't get an internship, you have to do a way harder assignment. And my internship was a blast and so easy. And then I just had to write 8 pages, which I did day of. Oh, I learned this, and and it was just my friends are like, yeah, I've been working for half the semester on this paper, and I'm really not. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I'm like, yeah, for my work today, I played foosball for 4 hours, and my boss said I'm doing a great job. So I
love how there's your college experience versus Dr. Garrett Ryan's it seems vastly different. And when I talk to you, Poob, I go, maybe I should go get a degree. And then when I just see the lifelessness in Garrett's eyes, where he's just
those eyes twinkle. Those eyes sparkle.
They used to, and then he had to be a lecturer, and the flame died years ago. It's coming back though. Now that you get the cool job.
Yeah, right. I mean, there is no more depressing group of people to talk to than late stage graduate students in the class, because they're all not finding jobs.
Got us.
Yeah,
you're talking. Your company's getting more sophisticated and cooler.
Exactly. You gentlemen, large net audience, all good stuff. But the YouTube thing. I never dreamed ever that I would be doing anything on YouTube. It was kind of a personal passion project for me, Toldinstone.
Yeah.
And then I just had, I started doing it to promote the book a little bit. And then I had one video take off. I'm like, hey, I can actually do this, more seriously. And, here we are.
Do you have another book in the works?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I do a sequel pretty much, Naked Statues. Same kind of book, you answer questions about the Greeks and Romans and kind of a fun short essay.
Oh, nice.
But, and I have ideas for other books later, further down the road. But for now, just kind of Naked Statues Part 2.
Oh, is it going to be the same thing, like Naked Statues?
It's 3, same sort of deal. But what is it? Sunken Cities, Insane Emperors, and Steam Engines, I think. Something like that is the title. So same kind of deal. Take fun facts, and weave them into a book.
I'll have to pick up this first one. It sounds awesome.
It's honestly not to bring what I'm assuming is a lifelong passion project down into a weird realm, but if you're gonna buy a book for like the back of your toilet, like there's like this thing is perfect to just like flip to like a random page because it's not like a cohesive story like all the way through. You know, you can just like open up random page. By the way, you probably should have put some more pictures in there. Probably like one every page.
My publisher, I tried, man.
Maybe make them colorful and
maybe if you need someone to illustrate stuff, me and Poob and Brian are pretty good with the old iPad.
So the book was, it's kind of a funny story. The book was translated into Korean. And the Korean edition is vastly better in every way. It has like 4 times the illustrations. They're all in color. It's like twice as long. I don't even a translation, to be honest. I can't read Korean. And it's amazing. It's like the anime version of my book. So obviously you could do this if you wanted to, but my freaking publisher wanted to save money. So I got 25 black and white illustrations and that's it.
Yeah, but now that you have this one, like your second one, do you have more?
No, I got like 30 in the next book. I'm not even kidding. It was
seriously? They gave you 5 extra?
It was so sad.
Never mind. I'm gonna be bumping the hell out of this. See if we can sell some more units, and then
some color in the next
color. If you get extra pictures in there, let's say you get 10 extra pictures, I get to decide what one of them is.
It's a deal. If my publisher, like, you know what, this guy on the internet, he changed
I'm just gonna Photoshop myself like next to like Caligula or something.
Well, back then everything was in black and white, so that shouldn't matter too much.
Exactly right. Only turned color like 50 years ago.
Yeah, pretty sure. I'm no historian, but I'm pretty sure they saw in grayscale.
Yeah, it's a judge from historical evidence,
like a dog. Yeah, like a dog. No, that's awesome. Man, that sucks though. Publisher woes.
Yeah.
And the hard thing is that with a title like Naked Statues, Fat Gladiators, and War Elephants, no one takes it seriously, which, again, fine. You kind of have a hard time pitching it for things like book fairs or even book signings. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't want this in our Augusta establishment. So, again, it is what it is.
Like you want it, if it's going to be a book fair, so you want it to be more fun, stuff people will relate to more easily. I mean, it sounds like that's what the whole book is.
Yeah,
it's kind of taking the pompous ness out of it.
Those little silver foil things that you get award. Make up an award. Make up one. Get it embossed and throw it on the cover.
Yeah, the Wonka method, kind of do it that way.
Yeah, just be like, this got the
the Colica or the Newbery or make up a prize. The Ryan Award of Excellence.
This is the best quote at the bottom. This is the best fucking book I've ever read.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
Julius Caesar says.
Yeah, cool.
I actually have one celebrity endorsement, and it's from Ken Jennings, who I've never met or anything. Yeah. I was trying to get anything for publicity. I sent out about 20 emails to people who might possibly endorse it. And like 2 months after I sent this email, I got a random email from Ken Jennings like, hey, sure, I'll do it. I'm like, oh, really? And then I got an email from him, and I tried. I'm like, oh man, I've got a friend in Ken Jennings now going to be part of the book for me. That never happened, but he did like a blurb, so that was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Blurb's better than nothing, but
yeah, sure.
It should say Ken Jennings' favorite, and then
exactly, it's like bigger than the title. And then kind of down.
It's like that new
is it on the back or something.
Well, if you have the first edition, it's not even on there, I don't think. But if the second edition, it's like on the cover, on the front cover, like with the Naked Statues. There's like a little blurb from Ken, like right, a couple sentences.
Oh damn! No, I don't have that one.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. It's not. It's only. It's
what does it say? Is it something awesome?
It's just like it's like you're there, pretty much. Like, oh, thanks, man.
It's like you're there.
It's like you're there.
Like I was in the room with the guy masturbating as he got buried in ash.
Like, who are you?
From Ken Jennings.
Masturbating guy. Who are you?
Yeah. Wait, Ken Jennings, he's the Jeopardy guy, right?
Right. Yeah, the Jeopardy.
Okay, I was making sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that guy was cool. I was really a fan of the Arthur something. I forget the guy's name, but he was like dominating for a while, and everybody's like, "You're playing the game wrong. You're playing it wrong." Because he would just come in and just fucking. He's like, yeah, we're going to start with this for 2,000. Like, he would just start from the bottom up.
Oh, yeah.
We're like, you got to start from the top.
That guy. Yeah, he figured the game out, man. It's one of these things.
Turned into a job.
Can I ask, is there a best way to buy your book for when we is it through Amazon the same as buying it from,
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, yes, I had the same royalty, whether it's from Amazon or a bookstore. I mean, obviously, support your local bookstore. If you want to, if you buy from somebody or any site you use, it should be available pretty much anywhere. Right? I hope so. If not, email me. We'll go from there. But yeah.
Oh, I am gonna say
I only buy books at CVS, so it's not there.
Sooner or later, let's hope.
In the magazine section, that's awesome.
If you were planning on getting this for like your e-reader, I bought it twice. Actually, I got it once for Kindle.
Oh, thank you.
And then it's kind of frustrating because in each chapter, right, you're like reading little things and then all of a sudden it'll have what's this called, like a subtext or whatever.
Footnote,
a little footnote. And then at the bottom, and it'll like elaborate on some of that stuff. And so like every time I see a little footnote, I go like, "Ooh, let's read that right now." But on the e-reader, you just see the number, and then you have to wait till the end of the chapter to get all the footnotes. And you go like, "What the hell does this even pertain to?" And like flipping pages on an e-reader is a pain in the ass. But this thing, you can just sit there and like read it all at once.
Oh, yeah, that's my favorite part of the whole book, with the footnotes. You put all this stuff you couldn't quite cram in the narrative, just kind of the fun facts you find, just kind of jam it there in the footnote. Actually, I try to make them on the e-reader do it that way, so it's on the same page, so it would kind of appear that way. But they didn't really care what I had to say about that, so that was the end of.
Yeah,
I'm buying 2 copies right now off Amazon, not my local bookstore. Give one to my friends.
Too. Double my sales
love this.
Awesome, yeah. See, we're friends to not only authors but Jeff Bezos.
That's right,
man.
He's technically my Twitch boss, I think. So
I think he is.
Yeah, so I love you.
Gonna buy YouTube soon or something. Like,
he'll be all of our bosses soon enough.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Badass. So, do you have like a favorite emperor? Is it the Abalabagus?
Yeah, like Abelus. I mean, he's the most fun to read about. Actually, my favorite one. So everyone knows Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor. Everyone's favorite Stoic. But he's in the movie
Gladiator. That's where
right. A guy who gets.
I only know people from Gladiator, but
but he had a co-emperor named Lucius Verus who just partied for 8 years. He did jack shit.
That's my favorite.
Aurelius is running the empire, and Verus is just partying. And there's so many great stories about this guy that it's probably my favorite bad emperor. It's like he had this giant metal cup that no man could drain. It was at parties to try and drain this giant goblet, basically, again and again.
It's like a beer bong, like an
It was.
It's like Hager.
Exactly. He threw a banquet that cost, like more than the empire's budget for the army that year. Things like just So there are other
with like tax money, or was that like personal money?
Well, it's kind of hard to say with an emperor. At what point your personal money starts and the imperial fisc begins, and you pretty much even spend what you want if you're the emperor, within the bounds of reason, because you kind of think, my gold is your gold, Roman Empire. You might build, a bath or whatever if you're a good emperor, or squander it on a stupid party if you're Lucius Verus. But the idea is that the emperor actually does have personal properties, a network of estates and stuff that provide him with income. But, the tax income from the empire goes to pretty much the same coffers. So it's kind of hard to distinguish where, his personal property begins.
Considering there's not like bank accounts, I bet you it was really easy to just take gold from one chest and put it in another and go like, that was mine the whole time.
You guys didn't check that chest. That was the gold chest. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, crime was way easier back then. We should go back to those days, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing was tracked.
Yeah, nothing. It was like really hard to track stuff. Now I've seen. I keep going in the other room, and my wife's watching like forensic file stuff, and they just are able to solve the most ridiculous murders. And I'm like, dude, like 60 years ago, if this would have happened, they would have been like, this guy's like a genius. It's like the DB Cooper of murdering people. He just disappeared into thin air. And now they're like, I found a seed, and this seed only comes from they're like able to track this guy 3 states away based on a fucking seed.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh, today sucks. This is a shitty.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Brian doesn't have anything to say.
Brian, what are you gonna say? Well, come on.
Yeah, Brian, you're gonna interrupt the guest.
What do you like comment?
Go ahead.
I don't even know. Oh, forensic files. Is that real? Is that based on a true story?
Yeah, they're all real things.
Shut up, Brian. Never interrupt again.
Yeah, everybody do a fucking like a drawback. Let's see if we can make them flinch.
Yeah. This is how they used to fight in Roman times.
Right, yeah. Marquis of Queensberry rules before.
Yeah.
Well, actually, boxing was a freaking blood sport in antiquity. So they had these hardened leather gloves that just drew blood whenever they hit anything, called the kestis. And people died not at all infrequently, in the ring, so to speak, in the ancient world of boxing. And if they weren't, they're mutilated. You always see, a boxer by, even we talk about broken noses now, the faces are all just massive scars from the sharp edges of the leather.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was pretty hardcore.
People would bite each other's ears off. Boxing was crazy back then. Yeah. It's like, people still die in boxing with big puffy red gloves. So I can't imagine hard leather.
Oh yeah, no, it would have been gruesome.
It's crazy that people just sat around and watched, essentially just people dying all the time. Yeah, gladiators. It's just.
I guess the value of human life has gone up slightly.
Yeah.
Which is weird because there's more of us now than there was then. You would think that they would care more about it back then, but there's only a couple million of us.
Every culture has its own little points of sensitivity and its own really weird blind spots. And their blind spot for murder was a mile wide.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
I remember I was reading this book. And there was one thing about how do you navigate the streets of Rome, because they're always packed and everything. And there was something in here about if you were an aristocrat, you would hire someone with cudgels to just beat people back.
Basically,
I'm thinking what? There's a 65-year-old woman just walking, and there's get out of here, bitch! The guy's coming through.
Yeah,
and
that's a wild time.
That old woman's grandson has the right to hunt that guy with the cudgel down.
We have discovered this.
And bring him to justice.
Just a wild time to. What's funny is actually, those cities were built and everything, and then they kind of just stuck to it. And it's really nice being in America where we realize, it's more this place was built within the past 250 years for the most part. But we have a friend, Lisa, that lives in where the hell does she live? Somewhere in Italy, and the city's ancient, and so they just can't even bring cars in. Everybody has little mopeds and shit.
Oh yeah,
because the roads are all tiny and stuff. And I just look at that, and I'm like, dude, I'm so glad I-10's right around the corner with 4 fucking lanes wide. I can drive whatever down the road. And
once I was driving in a village in Turkey, and so all the roads are exactly 1 car wide, and you're stripping your mirrors on both sides. And I pop out in a bazaar, just in the middle of a bazaar. There's everyone's shouting at me. There's fruit everywhere. I'm plowing down stalls. I can't back up. There's nowhere to back up.
Now I'm already a slightly nervous driver on a tiny Indiana road. I cannot imagine. Right, I would pass out behind the wheel. I'd just go right through a fruit stand.
See the bazaar, pass out, and
I'm in over my head. There's no good way to back out or keep going.
Yeah, right. It's all responsibility.
I can't be responsible.
So have you ever been in serious mortal danger, Indiana Jones style, while doing your studies abroad?
I had more shit happen to me in Detroit than anywhere else.
Studying the ruins of Detroit.
Yeah,
once actually, I may have stumbled upon some Kurdish insurgents, and so I was in far eastern Turkey, where there's this long-standing kind of cold, occasionally hot war between the Turkish state and a kind of a Kurdish liberation movement. And at one point, I was driving kind of along the Turkish-Iranian border. Kind of going up north towards Lake Van, and I see kind of a sign that says in Turkish, highway closed ahead. And other signs you can't really trust in Turkey. It's okay, it probably isn't actually closed. There's only one road. So I'll keep going and see if it's actually closed. And I keep going and going. And there's a line of cones across the road, and this dude kind of pops out with camel pants and a crew jacket and an AK-47 on the side of the road. He's shouting at me in Turkish to pull around. And I pretty much just say, "Oh, I'm a tourist. I'm Kurdish," and kind of just turn around, and that was the end of it. But he was definitely not Turkish military. He was a full uniform. So it was either a village militia, or a Kurdish insurgent who didn't want me to go any further. So like that was uncomfortable. And that could have gone
better
really
than
badly.
Detroit, though. It was still
but
felt
very
really
safer in that moment with the guy with the AK in the middle of nowhere.
So like they often they kidnap tourists sometimes. They hold them for ransom, and so that would have been a problem.
Yeah.
I did not have money at that point.
I can send you a couple signed copies of the book I'm working on.
If you wait, it's a big deal, guys.
I have no idea what you said about this book. It is worth a lot. It's worth a lot.
I'll get 10 extra pictures in your copy.
I'll show you and your gun on the title page. Just let me go.
You can choose all the pictures in the sequel. How many languages
were you over there?
All right. How many languages do you? This is a quick one. Do you like read and write?
I mean, so I used to be able to read fairly well. Again, I've gotten really rusty, unfortunately. But so Latin, ancient Greek are the bread and butter for classics, and then German, Italian, and French are the secondary languages you learn to read the research that's written. And I used to be okay in Turkish. Really better spoken than reading. But now again, I read some Latin sometimes for my videos. I read very little Greek, such like inscriptions or something. So I've gotten pretty bad, pretty rusty.
Yeah, the YouTube mind takes us.
That's something you have to, because I've never like really learned another language. I mean, I guess like in what I did, I lost, but I was never anywhere near fluent. Like, is that something you have to keep up pretty often, or you start to lose it, or is it?
I mean, at least in my
with you.
I mean, again, I'm sure there are people, who just have a mind for languages that, needs a little prodding. But in my case, I can memorize things pretty easily. So it's not hard for me to learn new vocabulary, whatever else. But if you don't practice it, I learned you lose that working vocabulary pretty, within a matter of a few months, really, if you don't keep using it.
Damn.
And so sure, like if you give me like a simple sentence and something, okay, I can still puzzle that out. But the reason you learn these things is to read like Plato or Cicero, and that requires a pretty high level understanding of all the grammar and everything else that's going on. And those kind of half remembered rules slip away pretty quickly if you don't keep up on it. So I should force myself. I used to, when I had a little more free time, I read like a page or like Greek or Latin every morning, just to keep myself kind of fresh. But that's kind of gone by the wayside. I've embraced YouTube.
You're now, let your
mind is
slowly rot.
Exactly. And now I can just read Wikipedia articles and be done with it.
Next time you're on here as a guest, it'll be even worse. We'll be equals intellectually. It's like I'm home. Like these guys.
You won't even be able to speak English.
I learned a bit of Ebonics. Take home with you guys.
Well, okay, on the other side of that, how the fuck does Arnold Schwarzenegger still have an accent? He's been speaking English in America for like so long, and he still has the
like the Austrian lilt or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of his trademark.
It has to be an act. It's a brand.
I feel like in a couple of those movies, it would have really served him to sound a little more clear. I don't know if it's an act. And some of them you're like, I still get you're from Austria, but like, what are you saying? I think he probably could have been in even more movies if he was just like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's an act, but something about like whatever accent you start with, I feel like really sticks with a lot of people. Much harder than like you go to that country and live there for 10 years now that you're speak a language.
Yeah, I mean, I was never, spoken fluent. I was probably best at like spoken German, I would guess. But even that, I was always very obvious about how I pronounce things. That was not a native speaker. And I guess, again, there are people who can have a better ear for it than I do. But even if you do, you kind of there's like a flatness to your accent. You can always tell that something's off, I think, unless you're just like really, really well trained or good at that. I'd imagine.
Can we talk about the Library of Alexandria? Did we talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, bring it on.
I was wondering about that earlier when talking about all these texts destroyed. Yeah. It's depressing. We don't know.
I did a video
about they had in there.
I mean, so, supposedly there's something like 750,000 books. And we say books, I mean kind of a scroll, about a foot long, about a foot wide, and about, anywhere from 15 to 35 feet long.
What the hell?
And you just unroll
You should
these
have
things.
this as a scroll. Your next one.
That's right, the
Fucking
scroll edition.
Yeah.
Actually, so there used to be this, kind of I guess the medieval version of an urban legend that the whole library was burned by one of the early caliphs. They showed up, and all these thousands and thousands of books, and he asked what these are about, and it's like, well, all these different subjects, and the caliph replies that these books either agree with Islam or disagree with it. If they agree with it, they're superfluous. If they disagree, then they are worthless, and they just burn all the scrolls at that point. And that never actually happened. It's sort of it's a medieval, Christian myth that kind of demonizes this caliph.
This fucking guy again.
But what did happen?
Anything we bring up.
Yeah, exactly. It ran your parade yet again.
Well, actually, it didn't happen. But
but there were some big fires that destroyed a lot of books there. But the real problem was the books weren't being copied anymore. Books have a lifespan. Before the age of acid-free paper and archive, temperature-controlled archive rooms. Maybe of 100 years it's a wet climate, a couple 100 years if it's drier. In Egypt, almost forever, but only in Egypt. Yeah. And so books decay, and if they're not copied again and again, you just lose that stuff. And it's kind of not a dramatic story. That's what happened to most of these books. It just stopped being copied, and that's the end of it.
God, it'd be such a bitch to copy a book.
Well, exactly.
I know, right?
Oh God.
The Romans had like actual workshops
to copy the Bible. Like that seems like the most tedious task. That's a long fucking book. Like you would think there was like
knock. Bought this at Goodwill.
That book has been copied so many times. If I was to copy a book by hand, I'm sure there's like an ancient Egyptian equivalent of like Calvin and Hobbes or something.
Can I get Garfield strips? Come on. I gotta do the damn Bible.
Practice drawing those. Like,
God, the Bible, not the book.
Come on, man.
Ever.
Hey, where's that novel? Well, all those like illuminations in manuscripts, all those like crazy animals and stuff that show up in the margins of manuscripts. It's just doodles. It's glorified doodling.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
They're just bored.
Hey, here's Deuteronomy again. Well, okay, might as well scribble.
Yeah.
Not again. Yeah, I'd almost rather be illiterate than have to be a guy that
at a certain point it's like,
I just be like, I can't read.
Have the librarian do it for you.
Yeah, librarian.
Yeah. How do I write this?
What is this word? What is this word?
Oh,
so many cowards like burn stuff like that they didn't agree with, and like I was just thinking about that while you were talking about the Kurd guy. There was like some temple somewhere where like when ISIS came to power, they made like those Michael Bay level movies where they're like, watch us blow up this shit that's thousands of years old, and I'm like, come on, man, like. Can't you just be tourists
trying to be
assholes?
Like
we knew you guys were dicks already, and now you're blowing up temples too. It's like, and that was Palmyra. Palmyra used to be, it still kind of is. That was kind of the showcase site in all of Syria. It was one of the richest cities in the Eastern Roman Empire.
Is that the one that's carved into the rock face?
Oh, that's Petra. It sounds like it, but Palmyra is in kind of eastern Syria, and it used to be this big caravan city. And the Romans traded down along the Silk Road, to China through the city. And used to be almost perfectly preserved, and you got some dynamite shoved up in it by ISIS, and so now there's that as a problem, and there's mines now, also courtesy of ISIS. This will kill the site director, which is not great.
That really puts a crimp in the whole archaeological dig, I'm sure, when you behead that guy.
So it's a terrible thing, and actually it was funny. So before I did Turkey, I was going to specialize in Syria. But that was in 2011, and kind of all hell broke loose there. And now who knows, when that nation is able to come back together.
Yeah. Was that like were you forced out of it, or were you like, oh, maybe I'll study something else? Like,
it was sort of
or were you really like determined, and the people at your college were like, don't do it, man.
It was a kind of individual thing. I'm like, I knew I wanted to talk about how Roman cities worked in their public places. And Syria has all these wonderfully preserved cities, like Palmyra used to be. And Turkey's kind of a good silver medal, to be honest. Actually, it probably has more stuff, overall. So I just kind of chose one over the other. It wasn't a huge thing. But I had thought about doing Syria, and then that became a non-issue when you can't go there. And probably won't be able to go there for a generation, sadly.
Damn. Yeah. Also, the climate seems a little bit.
Yeah, it's really freaking hot.
Yeah. I'd have done like a thesis on like Amsterdam or something.
Yeah, right. It's like, well, I'm still here in the Riviera, for some reason. Yeah, in Monaco or something.
Somewhere in the
Really
Mediterranean.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would have done. One of those fucking islands that's like paradise in the middle of the Mediterranean.
Yeah, the archaeology of Mykonos.
Yeah. What's it like there? I just need to study.
Euro.
It's kind of funny because it's literally right next to Delos, which is the most important site in the whole Aegean Sea. Is Mykonos is. It's a short boat right away, but Mykonos itself is just a giant club.
Yeah, I hear it in enough rap songs,
Yeah, yeah, Delos less so.
Theme.
Yeah, it's a flex to go to Mykonos. So one day we're gonna do a podcast from there. But
hell yeah!
Or throbbing techno in the background.
So when you're like studying abroad like that, do you get any time to like party, or is it just hanging out at archaeological sites? Like, what's the work to hanging out ratio of doing that?
Well, believe it or not, I'm not cool. So when it comes down to it, it's pretty much 100 to 0 ratio. I am just pretty much all hanging out in some dusty site, going
You're
back
a guest
home.
on this podcast. Yeah, no, not a single one of them has been cool. That's it.
Go
cool
back
people
home.
Don't come on this podcast, dude. Like, whoa, I'm a cool guy. I'm going right to hang out with these three fucking dudes.
Again, I thought I was being pretty. I was like, well, that was a sweet sight, but speaking objectively, yeah.
Actually, I take that back. Poob's like a party guy. Poob's a cool guy. You can tell.
Yeah, he can't stop.
Yeah.
Partying doesn't make you cool. Okay, I'm an alcoholic.
He invites himself to the party.
Alcoholism makes me cool.
I am not an alcoholic, and I am not I enjoy going out with it.
What's your major sponsor? Can you tell Dr. Garrett Ryan what your major sponsor is?
Oh God, I have to do this once an episode. Voodoo Ranger, IPA, God, it's beer.
I'm not an alcoholic. I'm just sponsored by a beer company.
He waived all money sponsorships, just wanted straight beer.
Yeah.
I really though, like my tolerance has gone down so much for the past couple of weeks. I drink one of these. I'm like, okay, I get what people talk about. I drink 2 of them. I had to switch off. I don't know if you know. I'm drinking Coronas now because I already had one of these on stream. There was a time where I drank, I think, 8 of these on stream, and now 2. I am fucking hammered. Like the other day, I drank 3. I knew I was pushing it. I'm like, whatever. I just want to have a chill night in. I'm watching TV on one monitor, playing Civilization on the other.
I get that.
And next thing I know, I'm like, where am I? Like, what's happening? I just got bumped off. I haven't really been going out much lately. I've been doing a lot of hiking and stuff and sightseeing.
Oh yeah,
lately.
What's up?
Yeah, I just went out to Ohio last weekend to what turns out I didn't know there were pretty parts of Ohio, but I mean, I say the same thing about Indiana. I'm like, there's actually pretty parts. I never believed that about Ohio. I didn't know that Eastern Ohio, it starts looking a lot more like Tennessee or Kentucky. I was in Hocking Hills, and it was actually
I've heard about it actually, and I never been. Maybe it's pretty nice.
We went to a cave called Old Man's Cave. That it's just a thing because in like the 1800s, an old man went out there and started living in a cave, and I fucking loved that. I thought that was awesome. And it was like a big ass cave. I'm like, all this to yourself? Like, it was like. I didn't. I had to keep being like, I'm in Ohio, right? I was like in ravines with like huge caves all around. Where the fuck in Ohio has this been? Because my family's all from like Western Ohio, and I'm like, it fucking sucks there. It's flat, like car salesman fucking lots and flags that are 100 yards wide. But then you go out there, and it's like, man, this is God's country. You start getting a little bit of. I put on a fucking cowboy hat. I'm like,
you're in Appalachia then.
Yeah, I know. That's where like all my family's from, like Appalachian mountain folk, and it shows. But now I'm
just thinking the same thing about like where you're talking about like Ohio has that you wouldn't think in a million years that would be super beautiful. Abby like booked us a little mini vacation randomly right before I think
with
right
your
before-
money.
Yeah.
No, this was back before she was a trophy wife. It was like at this place called Providence Canyon, and it turns out it's like an hour and a half away from me. It's just in southern Georgia, and we just drove up. It's like the fucking Grand Canyon, but in
Dude, I think
southern
every
Georgia, like,
state
what
has
the fuck?
places like that where you're like,
Shit.
But
What
what's
the
funny
hell
is
is
like,
happening?
I'm like, how did it like? It looks insane. Like it. Stalt, put up a picture of Providence Valley because I don't feel like fucking pulling it up on this thing.
that's
but
the editor forewarning.
yeah, that's the editor.
That would just
there's
seem
a
insane.
fifth
If
person.
who the hell's
Yeah.
Stalt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
There's been a
made
guy
him up.
listening this
Alter
whole
ego
time.
one of these guys?
Yeah, Stalt. We usually make several threats towards him throughout the
He's-
episode. But
I'll
he's been on my
normally
best
say
behavior.
once an episode, "Hey, Stalt, cut this out," and then he won't.
He doesn't
and
ever-
then
yeah.
It's like, what am I paying you for? I'm joking. He's gonna put a fucking. He's gonna hurt me if I keep that up. No,
He'll like he does
He's
that
the one in
ransom
power.
letter shit where you like take words and
From
cut them out of
magazines,
sequence to make
yeah.
you like say horrible things.
yeah, he's kind of
He has much power.
yeah.
He's got a lot of power because he sends it to me to review, but I'm like I'm like you.
You're like a
grading
TA,
papers.
yeah.
Yeah,
You're
I
just
turn
like,
it
you know
on
what?
and I go,
5
I see
minutes,
each
great.
of us audio
Looks
is
good.
working.
Yeah.
I lived it. I ain't watching it. Like, bitch,
was
I know
there,
what was
bro.
said. I lived that shit. Like, how often do you go read your dissertation? You know?
Oh God, yeah,
Never.
I get
You
like
probably-
hyped when I see it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No. But anyways, this Providence Canyon, it's like we went there. I'm like, man, this looks beautiful. Turns out it's all clay. There's not a rock there. It's like just waiting on the walls to collapse on you. There's all these signs that are like, don't get near a cliff because it will just break off and you will fall to your death. And I'm like,
Shit's
man,
Play-Doh.
how is this like
How's
made?
it still
And
there?
how's it still there? Turns out like it's man-made. There's just like a fucking like sewage runoff facility just like drained all the soil away. It's like made the Grand
God.
Canyon for 4 minutes, and they're like, it'll probably be gone in like 50 years. Like a heavy rainstorm will take this thing away.
Oh, they're
But
like plant like kudzu there or something.
Yeah, they should put some like ground covering. On it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hold
Like
on a
golf
second.
course.
I gotta figure this out because we just started using this software because of you, actually. We used to have
I'm
the
very
most
flattered.
annoying way to record the podcast, and then we were like, we need to simplify this, and so we ended up. I went out of my way to be a guest on a popular podcast in order to figure out how they did their podcast. And then I
Came
just
back with
stole their.
gold.
I came back with this sacred knowledge about StreamYard. Yeah, but they were able to do this. Let's see. And Stalt keeps telling me how to do it. There we go. Screen 3,
yeah.
share, and then there we go. That's it.
Oh wow.
Oh no! It's showing my whole. Ah! Cut that!
What? Your favorites are doxable?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Adult
You
diaper
can't
sites
have
that
that if
have
you're
gone?
gonna stream again.
I know, right? Window Chrome tab. Oh, I can do Chrome tab. There we go.
My back
Share.
is that of a fucking old man's now, dude. I swear.
That's what that thing looks like.
Oh,
It's incredibly deep and everything. It looks great,
wow.
but all of that's just like
It's just straight
clay.
eroded clay.
And it rained when we got there, so it was just like the walls were like seeping like around us. I'm like, oh my god. Yeah.
now look up Hawking Hills for me.
No, I'm not. I'm
Please.
scared to type anything.
I'm Hawking Hills. Yeah, why? What the fuck?
I-
What the hell?
Just
I'm
What
not
the
typing. I'm not
Hawking
even-
Hills.
You have your
Look
own
up.
computer. You're on your own computer.
You
Look
are
at
the. I have it pulled up, Sam. You're the one that fucking can run this.
You can't fucking. All right, fine.
How do I share it? I
Man,
don't-
what
You've
the
never.
fuck?
What are you
I
scared
got
of?
like my own shit going
You
on. here,
already
right?
showed it. Okay. Fucking.
No, I'll do it. Share screen, Chrome tab. As you can tell, this is a professional outfit we got here.
I mean, you know it.
Yeah, that place, Hawking Hills.
It's so tiny. Yeah, I think that's what it looks like. Like, does that look like Ohio to you? Look at this.
I
These
mean,
caves and
yeah, but-
caverns.
My image of Ohio is Toledo, frankly.
Old Man's
Yeah.
Cave.
Yeah,
There it is.
Exactly.
Yo, look
Where?
right there in
Oh,
the
is
fucking
that-
related
that-
searches.
I think I was on that bridge.
Old Man's Cave.
Old
Hawking
Man
There's
Hills.
an old
Yeah.
man that lived there, and then he died.
What, dude? This guy ruled. He lived in this
yeah,
place.
He
it's a
lived in
cave.
paradise.
It's like in freaking the mines of Moria there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. Speak friend and enter. Am I right?
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh,
Do you
yeah,
read like if someone in your field do you read like I'm just so much nonfiction, but do you like splurge on the occasional fantasy?
Oh yeah, I mean, I used to read a lot more than I do now. But yeah, I was a big fan. Obviously, Lord of the Rings. When I was like in junior high, I first discovered that. That was my kind of my first love. Like so many people were in fantasy, and I was just at that age when the movies were coming out, just at that moment. And so that was like, I'm like, they're gonna screw this up. The movies are gonna suck, and the movies are amazing. And so that, that was the end of it. Exactly.
Got one of those people.
Little Gandalf,
one of the cool kids.
Nice. Yeah, well, all his shit just fell off when I lifted him up, and it's gone forever now.
But yeah, I still try to, even like in my YouTube videos, or even the book, actually, I've little touches of the kind of like, historical fiction here and there. So that's kind of enjoy.
I think it was weird when Gandalf killed Caesar, but
Sam, hold up. I have a really important question. Have you ever read The Way of Kings? Any of that series?
The Way of King? Oh,
by Brandon Sanderson?
Yes, I have read that. Yeah, that's great stuff.
Yeah, it is great.
How that guy maintains his writing pace, I have no idea, but
it's like 1,000-page books, and he's just pumping them out.
Like seriously, it's insane.
And they're connected.
I have read The Way of Kings.
Yeah, it is impressive. I'm on the third one right now.
Yeah, no one is a better world builder, I think, than he is. He does a great job of
it's remarkable.
spinning a universe from
self-referential.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I
he has like a multiverse of books. I haven't read the other ones, but he has multiple, like each one being like 3 or 4 book series with 1,000 page each, and then he has other ones in the same universe but on different like planets, I think, but they have the same magic system, same like gods,
like the Marvel approach, like the multiverse. And,
yeah, because like the only thing on that scale I've read is Game of Thrones, and I was like he got to like the 3rd or 4th book, and then he had to stop and write an encyclopedia so he could because he's like, if I reference this person as having brown hair, and then in the 2nd book I actually said that they had auburn hair or something, then these people are going to tear me limb from limb, and it just seems so tedious to make up a world and then characters, and then like have to remember that shit. So the fact that this guy is not only doing that, but writing multiple books.
He writes like 2.5, 1.5. Like he puts in between books too that are like decently long about side characters from the world and stuff. Like,
I mean, yeah, he must have read like 20 pages a day, just endlessly.
It's insane. It really is. One of my friends recently told me about him, and I was like, ugh, he described it in such a like, yeah, it's like knights, but they have Power Ranger armor and lightsabers. And I was like, okay, like, of course that appeases to kid me, but like, that sounds ridiculous. And then I read it. I'm like, this is a masterpiece.
Oh, I know. I actually did the same reaction, like reading the back of the book, like, this won't be any good. But I was like on a plane or something, like, this is amazing. And,
I know. I got so hooked, and I'm like, well, what is Kaladin gonna do next?
Exactly.
What's gonna happen out here?
You have to get invested.
Sam, you should check it out.
It's kind of like, do you ever read like Robert Jordan, The Wheel of Time, that whole series?
I haven't, but I know I've heard comparisons. That might be my next.
Just for scale, and it ended up being 15 enormous books, and again, kind of it could have been like 5. Frankly, but you get so invested in the world. It's like, I'll read 5,000 more pages about this person.
I hope he keeps pumping them out at this pace, like
until his heart gives out. Right? I mean,
I hope he never dies
and love it, and then like as it goes on, you're like, man, this really fucking sucks eggs, but I got to see it through.
What's the thing? You can't stop. It's crap.
You can't.
Yeah. It is a little bit of like, I have to know what happens to this world and to these characters. He does a great job of that, and it's like so the like politics of the world are really interesting. Like chapters where in other books I might normally be like, ugh, I'm like, god damn, like what is going on in this world?
Yeah, I mean, really, I think that besides Robert Jordan, I think he just does that the best.
Yeah.
Or sorry, no, it's not Robert Jordan. Sorry, yeah. But yeah, it's one of these things that it's just fascinating. And again, as a historian, you kind of see, as they're pulling things different periods of history, but weaving them into this fabulous new tapestry that it's just fun.
That's sweet. I was thinking about that book earlier. Sorry, when you're saying stuff about Roman history, I'm like, I see the inspiration in certain things. Like Sam,
even George R.R. Martin, the wall, that's Hadrian's Wall, kind of made into ice and made 500 feet tall.
And I think the whole story is just like the War of the Roses, right?
Yeah, supposedly.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then those guys on horseback They sound like somebody from history. I don't know. But like to be able to write a book and then have an entire cast of characters where you have to like flesh out other people. Like I hardly could write one fucking decent character, let alone a whole.
You can't even write a D&D character.
I can't. No, I can't. Yeah, we're playing D&D. I'm supposed to be like role playing. I realized I just made myself. Like it's just like me with a cape on.
Someone asked me today on stream, like, what voices are you guys using? I'm like,
voices.
I'm like, not a single. Because I wanted to use one, but I'm like, I'm not gonna be the only one using one. I'm like, they made it very clear, like, not even the DM is doing voices for people. Like, this is us playing D&D. Like,
yeah, we're not fucking like nerds. We're just like dorks.
Come on.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
No, I just didn't want to have to fucking make up a voice. And what if like 30 seconds in, I'm like, oh, that sucks.
You get sick of it. Yeah.
That
Like,
was the worst decision I've ever made.
It is risky doing a voice.
Okay, so if you do like an accent for a movie, even when Daniel Day-Lewis had to like make up something for Lincoln, like he only had to do it for 3 months.
How long do you think your character's gonna live? Your character's gonna die.
Live fucking forever, dude. He's gonna be
You're
125.
gonna have to make a new one in a week. Like,
no, I'm not. Yeah, probably. Knowing the way this shit's going, somebody's just gonna stab me in the
combat
eyes.
Abilities. I don't even think any of us can fight.
You were just talking about earlier. You were like, yeah, like I'm having a hard time waking up or whatever, dude. We used to do these, by the way. We would record these episodes at like
12
lunchtime.
Oh, wow.
You know, which was I thought middle of the day because I wake up at fucking 6 a.m. every morning, and now they've been pushed back to 9 p.m. and stuff. And so we're doing these D&D sessions, and I've had a full fucking day with 2 kids and like working and everything, and then like I'm supposed to sit down and be all creative, and Poob's on his fucking A game, and I'm like fading out. I'm like,
I just
so
woke
tired
up like an hour before.
Yeah.
Like, really?
You see this surgeon.
Get up bright and early.
Bouncing around. Because we had like an episode go until like 1:30 a.m. and I was just like, holy shit.
That was the second one, right?
I am so tired. I am like ridiculously tired.
Well, in that last one too, I think I had 2 tall boys of Voodoo Ranger. I was hammered, and we're still recording. I'm like, what? Like, God, end it. And like at one point, Sam, you were even like, okay, and it's over. And Bizzle's like, and then you go upstairs.
Then what happens? He's like a slave driver.
Yeah. Then what? It's like, I don't know. I can't think.
On the second episode, I was like, and now we go to bed. And I hopped in bed, and Bizzle's like, and it's morning. Now you get up, and what happens? I'm like, fuck, I want to go to bed in real life. That was supposed to be like a
meta.
A smooth transition.
We should get, what we should get on OBS is just like theater curtains
that close. Yeah.
And so when we're done, he's like, and we just fucking hit a button and the curtains close and you can't see us anymore.
And we all bow.
Shop's over.
Bows. Yeah. I think pushing the podcast back to later, though, has been a great success in terms of, since we've done it, every podcast has been like an hour longer than they used to be. And I feel like we're more, I mean, Sam, you look dead right now, but like at the beginning, at least, we're more awake than we were at noon. Like it would always be like, oh, I just got my okay, maybe this is just for me. If I'm going to be doing most of the talking anyway, I need to be the most awake. So it's helped me a lot. And I can also drink beer. Like I'm not going to listen, like I drink beer, but I'm not going to start drinking beer at noon, you know, like for a fucking noon podcast.
Dude, this is the beauty of it, man.
Also, I don't smoke before
can tell
late anyway.
Garrett's kind of still got like a normal life. He hasn't, like, how many years have you been doing YouTube?
Really just one. I mean,
1 year? You haven't sunken into it yet.
Exactly.
I've realized there is no difference between weekday and weekend, and time doesn't really fucking matter. So like there's times where I get up and I'm like, oh, we're streaming Tarkov today or something like that. It's 11 a.m. I'm making drinks, dude. I'm mixing drinks. I still have scrambled eggs in my tummy.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of projecting with I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah,
when Sam used to be fucking downing like doubles on our noon. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, fucking
wait 5 o'clock anywhere right now. Like,
okay, dude, you say I have a problem, but what did I order in Idaho? What did I order?
Shirley Temple.
Shirley Temples, baby. Not
Yeah.
even a dirty Shirley. Just
That's
regular ass Shirley Temple.
Yeah.
After ripping on a vape for fucking 4 hours.
Shut up.
Yeah, but
It's not
But yeah.
smoking. Nothing's getting burned. It's just magic liquid. There's nothing. It's not a drug or anything. That's nothing. You can't even break me on that. But yeah, I have an addictive personality, and I know it. All right, that it's acknowledging it is the first step. Right?
Exactly.
I have nothing but just looking back on my family history. Everybody's an alcoholic. Everybody's an alcoholic.
Why do you think I don't gamble? Okay, because I'm too afraid to start. Okay,
Yeah.
that's why I don't bet on sports. I don't bet on shit. That bidding site, it's ruined my life. But my apartment looks so good. My house looks incredible.
Dude.
I have someone over. They're like, "Oh my
you look
god,
so traveled.
yeah. Where have you been?" I go, "I'm in West Indiana." Ever.
I bet you got some cool relics and stuff. Do you have anything cool from your travels?
Any oddities?
Well, yeah. I mean, the hard thing is that if you find something really cool, you can't take it with you, sadly. So, like once I was, climbing up a hill in the middle of Turkey, and my foot turned up a perfectly intact Byzantine bowl with this very elaborate decoration. And the problem was there's no museum. And if I try and keep it with me and bring it to somebody, they'll assume I'm trying to steal it, and I'll go to prison immediately, which is not great in Turkey. But so I have a coin collection, Greek and Roman coins, nothing very high end, but it's fun to have something. Actually, even on the table behind me, you can't see it here. I've got there's a cup full of uncleaned Roman coins, and I'm working on kind of work through them, and get the portraits uncovered.
That's cool.
So things like that, small scale stuff.
Sam's so spiteful. If he saw that bowl and he knew he couldn't take it, he would have just smashed it.
I would have taken one picture with my iPhone. And then,
a little hammer.
Kick it over.
All that history ends with me, bitch, just because you're going to throw me in prison.
I'd eat one bowl of cereal out of it, get all the curses it has. And then
Exactly right.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, anyway, so that was just a question so that... when you do die inevitably, we're wondering if you could put all your valuables up on an estate site that we frequent. That's where Poob got all of his awesome furniture and world traveling.
You can see behind me. I forgot I had this picture up for a really long time.
What the fuck is that? A clown funeral?
It's the clown funeral with a filter on it. I don't know why. It's from the D&D sesh.
What part?
It's just this picture. It's from a show. I think I looked up Clown Party or something. This popped up.
Wow.
It's from Modern Family, but I can't remember what I was gonna say. But I do have you can't see them, and most of them. My roommates, every time I drive to Ohio and drive back with a load from this estate sale site, I just see the fucking, he's like, we're never going to use this garage for anything. We cleaned it out. We're like, maybe someone could park in here. And now it's just like, you walk in there, there's like 15 framed art pieces. There's nowhere to put up a rug or two. Boar's head, just random shit. I think I finally hit it in the other program. I just bought a big ass mallet. It's like, what? What do I buy? But then also some
if
good
you come
furniture.
up with a mallet, that's nothing you would ever. That might
I'm
be
not going to just buy one.
Yeah, no one's going to look that up. But if you come up and say have you ever seen a mallet this big?
Comically low. It's a Gallagher
Put a price
mallet.
on it.
Oh wow!
It's $30.
Dude. As long as it's under $100, you're gonna look at it and go, "That's a steal for that mallet." You've never priced them in your life.
I've never seen a mallet for sale. That big.
So any number they put on it, you're gonna be like, "That's a steal. I'm buying it."
Right. And maybe it is.
And I got a Gallagher shirt the same week, so it's like I'm gonna smash a watermelon.
Buy some watermelons. Yeah, you're halfway
it's
there.
Gonna be. I've got the mustache. I got the hair.
Yeah, you were born to do this.
Dang! I know though. It's so. It looks fucked up. The first watermelon I smashed it, it's gonna shatter, and I'm gonna probably break both my legs, but it's gonna be so worth it.
You get a big hunk of wood, into your
right.
I'm gonna slip on all the watermelon. Oh shit!
Fucking bang your own head with it.
Handle sharpened into your heart. You fall into that move where you fall on it and it slides. Your body slides through it.
And then pyroclastic flow just covers me or whatever.
There it is.
quickly grabs his dick.
Quick, jerk off. 2 hands. My God, this guy was awesome.
Yeah,
How big his cock is, and it's actually a mallet handle coming out of your groin. Holy crap.
They still debate if he was one stabbed by a mallet through the groin and he's trying to pull it out, or
there's one guy, one historian in 1,000 years that is like, I'm pretty sure it's like a mallet handle.
Everyone else is like, no, he's a hero with the 20-inch penis.
Yeah.
It's just an oversized.
You know how unlikely that is, that there's a mallet handle coming out of his groin.
This guy's some sort of Gallagher type. Get your head out of your ass. Only we can see the shirt he's wearing underneath all the sash. My God, Gallagher shirt. My hypothesis. Yeah,
must have been like a god back in the day or something. Yeah. How much of that shit do you think is just like you guys are completely wrong about?
Oh, probably a lot of it. I mean, less than we used to be. Certainly, archaeology has exploded a lot of errors. Before classics meant just reading the same, half dozen authors really carefully and kind of cross-referencing them and seeing, if they contradicted each other, if they corroborated, whatever. Now that we know how to use archaeology much more diagnostically, I guess, we can say a lot more about both how most people lived, and we can date things much better. Things like pottery of sequences. That and like things like papyri from Egypt, the last 100 years have shed a lot of light on things we didn't know about. But there's still just gargantuan gaps. For huge portions of history, we have one source, pretty much one narrative source, one historian who is the basis of our story for that whole period. That means that guy's biases, that guy's blind spots, that guy's ignorance are our blind spots, ignorance, biases. And so it's just we have to deal with that. It's the nature of the game. There's just so few sources to deal with, or to work with, rather.
What about Troy? Did that happen? Like the battle for Troy?
No, what's that? Oh, yeah, for the Troy?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the thought is there was actually a conflict at the site of Troy. It was the Hittite Empire ruled most of what's now Turkey. And it was kind of an outpost. It was an independent city, we think, that was allied to the Hittites. And there may have been a Mycenaean, it's kind of the Proto-Greeks, a Mycenaean raid on this fortress, which is probably very wealthy, that was elaborated over the centuries into this epic battle that lasted 10 years between, all the Trojans and their allies and this mighty coalition of Greeks. And so it may have a kernel of truth, that this raid probably in the Bronze Age that was elaborated by bards in the Dark Ages into what became the Homeric poems, we think, but we don't really know. So archaeology there is kind of a fun, it's a two-edged sword.
Didn't exist?
What's that?
Helen of Troy?
Helen? Yeah, probably not. I mean, it'd be fun.
Man.
But maybe, who knows? Some princess is kidnapped.
Story.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. How hot do you think she was? Or, like back in the day, I bet you she was probably just like not even hot by today's standards. But
yeah, that's my actual thesis. Helen of Troy, hot or not?
Yeah.
Troy looks like Roseanne Barr. Apparently she's worth invading a city over.
I mean, if she's a queen, that's all that matters, right?
Oh, was she? I thought she was just like a hot babe. Okay.
No, yeah, she's the daughter of the king of Sparta.
Okay, there's no way that
you haven't watched Troy in a while, Sam.
Yeah, but she's also actually the daughter of Zeus, which gets her divine beauty from.
So she would be hot. Yeah.
Yeah, so she would be hot. Yeah, speaking as a historian, she'd be hot. Okay. But yeah, so it's one of these things where the Homeric poems, everyone knows Iliad and the Odyssey. Odyssey, really no kernel of truth. Maybe the Greek colonization or something inspired parts of it, but the rest of it's just, a good story, a really good story. It's told and retold.
Those sirens, they don't exist?
Sadly. Yeah. Train your parade again.
Cyclops, though, does.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, it's actually a fun thing. So the thing that they found pygmy elephant skulls in Sicily, where the trunk ties into the skull was a big, circular opening. And they found these, Ice Age dwarf elephant skulls and interpreted them as the skulls of a gigantic person with one eye.
Oh. I think that's one of your like 6 pictures in here is like a giant 10 pictures. Isn't one of them the elephant skull?
25.
I remember.
Was it
25 in this? I thought it was 20 in this one.
25, and I try to argue for 30.
You're gonna get 30 in the next.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I've passed by pictures and I haven't seen one yet. Never mind. It might not be in here. But I remember seeing maybe on your YouTube channel.
Exactly. I did a video that was last summer, I think, the one about the bones, and it might have been that one where it has the elephant skull and the big gaping hole in the middle. It looks like just a dude with one eye.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. Or like small dinosaur skeletons inspired the legend of the griffin, for example. Burned looking bones, may have inspired the battle of the gods and the giants. All these kind of things from myth that seem to have these real world inspiration.
I would love to be a guy that just sees some shit and like makes up a fantastical story about and that's what happened.
An epic poem.
And a god sent lightning and shot it down on this giant.
Hey.
And then a snake woman was,
right. And she showed up and crazy and
it's turned people stone and shit. Like,
if we know anything about from antiquity, it's if you're good enough at poetry, you can pull anything off. You just become Homer. You just Homer. It's like, wow, that sounds really good, man. I'm down with that.
Merge. Yeah, you can become Homer.
I was telling Brian yesterday, dude, I perfected a Homer Simpson accent.
Oh, let me hear
around the house, but I was with Madeline and I kept doing it, and I was like, oh, Madeline, and I was like perfect. And then I turned the corner. I was like, Abby, listen, I'm Homer, and I tried doing it. It was fucking gone immediately. I can't even replicate it. Like I don't know. It was weird. Like my voice just in that one moment. Like when I go back and watch the camping trip video, the hiking trip.
Yeah,
we did
nightly when you rewatch it nightly.
Yeah, when I rewatch it. And during the mushroom trip scene, my voice, I've tried saying the things that I said in that video back, and I can't do it. That was not my voice. I say some shit where I'm like, we're going back in time. And it's like, I have never fucking sounded like that ever. And I can't even replicate how I said it.
Flew across the sky.
Those of you were screaming too. You have to scream it. You were so loud.
There wasn't an animal within a 5-mile radius. Scared off from our tent. Yeah. There's 8 cougars stalking us, but we said that. They decided to this time hunt in a pack. This one.
Because of the noise.
All right, I'm out.
Wait.
I'm tapped.
We got to make it 40 more seconds because we'll hit 3 hours exactly.
It says we're live for 2 hours 45 minutes.
Oh, mine says 2 hours 59 minutes 24 seconds. Mine's always fucked up. I don't know why.
What about you? What do you get?
246, 44.
You see it in the top
I have
left.
the same as Brian does.
Damn it.
Yeah, right, so we're not going for another 14 minutes.
We're doing 3 hours, bro.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's 12 o'clock. It's time for me to go get some something to munch on out of the kitchen.
Oh, I'm out of pretzels.
Knock. Isn't this shirt awesome?
That is pretty cool.
That is an amazing shirt, actually.
It's scary. It's like,
dude, people unironically wear that.
Yes, he's half behind a door, staring at you.
That guy, I would shit myself.
Wait, back up. Let me see the graphic again. Dude, I could have swore it was. Oh wait, no, that's the other way around. I could have swore it was in the shape of Idaho.
No,
it kind of does.
I was like, oh my god, that is the most.
That would be cool. There might be another layer to this shirt I don't know yet. Maybe it isn't the shape.
That is like
Nebraska, a state I don't know the shape of.
It's not even Jesus. That's just some fucking scary ass dude.
I love Idaho. This is
it's the governor.
This is the leader of Idaho. Knock. Are you gonna vote again, or you're gonna re-vote for me, right? Dandy, what a pleasant podcast. What a great time.
Yeah, I had a wonderful time. Thanks so much, guys.
That's got some ideas floating around their head.
It feels good to talk smart to good thinkers.
Yep. We finally found an equal And,
finally. After years.
So if you got colleagues or something that need to test their mind a little bit, send them our way.
Says that brain in.
Get better honed and everything.
Yeah. If they want to focus off.
Act together.
Yeah.
So, anyways, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you
If
so
you
much,
guys
man.
want to buy a fucking good book,
I got mine coming in tomorrow.
yeah.
Oh, well.
Naked
Thanks so much,
Statues,
guys.
Fat
Made it.
Gladiators, and War Elephants by Garrett Ryan. And for that plug, I want a little quote, a little endorsement from General Sam.
You got it. On the sequel,
cover.
man.
Yeah. And it's going to be, I want my quote to be on a big foil stamp.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
General Sam Award.
Yeah,
the
the
Fourth
General Sam
Fables
Award.
Podcast Award.
It's like the Nobel Committee with 2 L's or something.
Yeah. Dude, that would be great if we made an award and we started giving it out with like the worst, like this reads good. Like, this is
a damn
good.
fine book.
Eyes can read it. We're not too big. Okay. That's what I want to see on my Barnes and Noble book.
Exactly.
That's like Amazon reviews, man.
God. Oh, it's great. Well,
all right, call
nice
it there.
meeting you.
Nice to know you guys.
meeting you,
Thanks so
man.
much for taking the time, and have a great rest of your night.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.